And one of them actually was really interesting. It was I don't remember the guy's name, but it was Diary of a CEO interviewing one of the chief programmers or something like that for Hinge, and he broke it down actually in kind of unsexy scientific terms, but
there was nothing sexier than science. You take that back.
It was kind of like, oh, because you think of love and affection as this kind of connection that you can't really quantify, and it's just there. And I mean, I think we've all been there at one point. Like we just can't explain it. It's just there. But there actually is a rather easy to follow formula when it comes to relationships and how we, and especially how we as men and women communicate with each other, because we are communicating on two completely different wavelengths. But that's not sexy to think about. It's like, oh, we'll work it out. That's the ideal. That's the huge romantic fantasy. But actually, there's stuff we got to work through, and there's things we have to actually talk about, and we have to suss out. And it's like solving a quadratic equation. It's not fun, but it works. It's like, okay, well that's that. And listening to that, I was kind of realizing, oh, okay, so it kind of is a formula here. There actually are established. There actually is kind of a one size fits all method of making this work, and it's just communicating.
Yeah. Well, love is here's the thing. This is where I think I get cross-threaded with the modern culture a little bit, because when we're talking about, a lot of people are picking relationships based on vibes. They're just going based on how I feel moment to moment when I'm with this person. And that is going to fluctuate over time. That's not what love is. Love is about choices. Yeah. Like I'm choosing in this moment to do what I need to do to maintain this relationship, or I'm choosing to leave it. It's about choices. It's not about, a lot of people act like this happens. Like a lot of times in midlife, people will be like, I have no choice but to bang my 22-year-old secretary because I'm in love with her and my wife is dumpy and I'm bored with her. Right. And it's like, yeah, but like they use that term love, and it's like, no, it's exciting. I understand it's exciting when, a 22-year-old with a tramp stamp and a communications degree gives you attention. Like that's rad. Like that's fun. Well, I get that.
I prefer actually women's studies and underwater basket weaving myself.
Right. It's oh shit, guys, Gall is in the chat.
Oh,
what's up, girl? How you doing?
All women, I like it. It's like
she's so fucking based. I wanted to have her on the show for this specific panel, but that's kind of the point that I was making at the top when I was like, once you realize that women are just people like that. I don't mean
I'm still waiting for citations on that.
That's the thing. Is like. I don't know. And the problem is like, okay, like, because women are very sensitive, so they can smell fear and they can smell insecurity. If you're being too nice to them, it just reeks of, I don't have any options. I'm desperate. I'm insecure. Please.
I didn't realize that was that obvious.
And for a lot of men, that's their situation. And what's crazy about it is you have to act like you have options even when you don't. That's what's tricky. It is very much a fake it till you make it situation. It's the same way with like stand-up comedy. I started producing my own shows that I was headlining and then telling out-of-town bookers that I was a headliner and said, here's the poster and the video to prove it, but I had to make myself a headliner. That was a self-appointed title. It was like I declared myself king in the North and then forced people to call me your grace, and then they did. It was very much a fake it till you make it. And it's the same as like, when I was selling cars, a million years ago, like I called myself a car salesman and people assumed I knew what I was talking about. And when I would talk to girls, I would act like, even if I like the girl, I'll act like I have options, and that people will treat you better if you act like you have options. But one of the problems, there's a lot of problems with simping, but it's just one of the main problem with it is it's just like not a good strategy for you.
No,
like you're just not going to get what you want out of it, and I'm telling like every man over the age of 25 has been a simp at some point. It's just a life stage.
Wow.
You go through.
Well, it's something
it's a mixture. I gotta say though, it's kind of a mixture though.
Yeah.
It may be and may look like simping when you are on the woman's hook and you don't realize it.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to say.
is a
A
big-
lot
yeah,
of men
big
still do it and have no fucking clue that
Yep.
they are.
Exactly.
And that is a big problem.
Now,
It's
Sometimes you
interesting. I
need to
noticed-
take a step back and like evaluate your own behavior and be like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What
Hold
am
on.
I
Hold
getting
on.
out of this? Nothing.
Drunken, I'm going to send you backstage because Full Metal Nate just showed up. Okay.
Excellent.
Hold
Okay,
on.
I'll be in back.
And to what you were saying, Theo, kind of like how you and don't take this as a dig, but some of those
No,
things
go
you
ahead.
were saying, like how you present yourself in a way that you may not actually be.
Yeah.
A lot of men don't assume that women don't do that too, when in
Bingo.
fact, women are extremely, if not more capable of being fucking con artists too. They they can latch onto certain things about your personality and go in at it and manipulate
Dude,
it.
Yep.
that is
I
so
totally
real.
hear you.
I
When
you
bartended
think
at a
about it,
fucking
that-
strip club for about
Dude.
a year and a half.
I'm pretty
and
sure
I
that's
saw
why
a
he does
lot of
actually
behavior,
love
so
me.
my bullshit meter is all the
Yeah,
way
dude.
set to there.
Yeah,
Snakes.
Also,
Why did it have
guys,
to be
do you
snakes?
automatically
Off
trust
base?
every man you meet, or do you think I need to watch this guy? He might be full of shit.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
You need to do that with women too.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. She's full of shit. I don't know if I trust this person.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you know how many
Do the
girls I
same
meet?
thing. Treat everybody the same in that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many girls I meet at comedy shows, and I meet her, and she's just the world's biggest comedy fan because she's, oh my God, have you heard of Matt Rife? He's so funny. Because she's trying to relate to me. And she's
It always
just
goes
like,
back to Matt Rife.
right. And it's just because that's the only comedian they know. Because she doesn't actually
how
like
sad.
comedy. She
Dude,
likes
I could just-
TikTok.
I could just
Uh-huh.
see you're so excited at first, and then the moment not even Matt Rife, just
He's too
Matt
jaded.
comes out of her mouth.
Yeah, I'm
The
like,
look on
yeah,
your
I'm like,
face.
God
You got to
damn.
watch out, because then another girl might go up to you and start dropping like Bill Hicks and shit, and you think, wow, hold on. But then remember,
Whoa.
she has a phone. She has Google.
Right. She has Google.
He's
The
a
real,
comic.
the real test
What-
is she knows
what-
Norm Macdonald and Sam.
What are
Kinison.
some of the big
Those
things
guys
about,
do
you know,
not
like,
show up on TikTok?
it's real easy to do a Google search and get some information on a topic to get your hooks into somebody personally
That's true.
and then manipulate that deep connection bullshit.
No,
what,
and that's
what
real.
range of SNL has she has she seen?
Well,
how-
and here's
how
the thing,
familiar, you know?
I'm online too. So one of the things that happened is girls would look me up online. They'd come up to me and they'd start talking to me about like cats and stuff. Just whatever I've got like bits about or pictures of online. Like I have a bunch of material about my cat, right? So they'll come up to me and be like, "Oh yes, I have a cat." Oh, da, 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 da. I'm like, "Oh, that's crazy. You should mention that. I also have a cat." And they'll just be like, "Oh, really?" Da, 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 da. And then now all of a sudden we're in a conversation that I think was completely organic, but actually was, was planned out from it was a bait that and by the way, there's not necessarily anything wrong with if a woman likes you enough to bait you into a conversation, that could be a good side,
Sure.
Yeah.
but don't assume
Very-
you're having a genuine meet cute moment. Like it could be completely manufactured.
Yep.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah,
like, and
that-
going
that- very
and that-
true.
it ties back going back to the women being manipulative thing. That is entirely true because that's something I've been realizing just in the past month or so. Women had to be on the lookout, and maybe evolutionarily speaking or societally speaking, what's the one thing that women generally cannot stand up to is physical intimidation. And what's the one thing that always blindsides it? Because men are we're ready kind of for most threats, like direct threats. We are hopeless when it comes to recognizing indirect threats like manipulation. Women are very, very good about that because that's what they've had to do to control the men in their lives is through emotional or sexual manipulation. And it's not necessarily a bad thing because we all compliment each other in a good way, but we can also prey on each other's weaknesses in a very bad way. Women have to look out for more direct, I don't want to say hyper masculine, but hyper aggressive behavior. Could that aggressive behavior be turned on me? Is he the kind of guy who would do that? They have to be on the lookout for that. And so, but the way to deter that is to emotionally and maybe emotionally, mentally, maybe sexually manipulate him away from that. I mean, name a queen name any English queen. That was what she did. She controlled his darker impulses. but we have no idea how to control that manipulation because we don't recognize it. We're used to threats being right in front of us. If a guy's pulling back and about to punch you in the face, you kind of anticipate what he's going to do next. But a woman said something slightly degrading or can be or kind of could lead you to think a certain way. It's a step. She thinks in terms of eons, whereas men usually thinks in terms of maybe a couple weeks.
Yeah,
think,
we're all
you know
using
the
things
quote,
that are in our
There's
evolutionary toolbox.
Yeah,
you know the quote behind every great man is a something woman. I forget what the
behind every great man is a woman or something like that.
Yeah.
Some feminist bullshit. But Theo, I also want to mention, you said that you have to pretend like you always have other options, even if you don't. You always have two options.
Right. No, well, that's the thing. It's like now I do have options now, but I had to act like I had options before I had options, and that created the options.
Wait, did you ever have a time
well,
where
that's
you didn't have hands?
confidence. Women like that.
Well, I mean, it's I say earlier in my life, like, so there's sometimes when hands just don't get it done. Here's the thing. It's like,
Hands just don't get the job done for you.
no, man. It's like, well, because it's like, and here's the thing, like, here's what, this is tough. It's like, okay, because I don't use internet pornography at all. So like 90% of dudes are walking around like sedated, and I'm not. And so one of the things that gives me a huge like testosterone advantage that women definitely pick up on. But the problem is, like, when I'm around a girl that I'm really into, I'm like fucking like vibrating, and that level of intensity.
All it takes is one touch.
Right. Exactly. You really got to keep it
on
in
me.
check. Like that takes, like, I have a lot of practice intentionally lowering my heart rate for going on stage. And like, that is very
Theo's over there loading his rocket ship with rocket fuel. As she's
That's right.
to him.
I'm just like, dude, this is full of Red Bull, bro.
Jeez.
Dude, my heart is rode hard and put away wet. I'm fucking just, my blood pressure is super powerful. My doctor's worried about me. He says I'm gonna die. I say he's a pussy.
Sounds like a skill issue.
Just because he hasn't seen a person with that high blood pressure yet doesn't mean it's impossible.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm out here living the dream, but the problem is, like, okay, here's the thing. The other thing about like simping for women is because, like you guys are saying, women are so much more sophisticated. They know it doesn't fool them. They know you're not just being nice to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
They know why you're being nice, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have to, they're just you're not fooling them, essentially. So they get it. And they're just I think especially on the internet, a lot of these like internet prostitutes just rely on external validation to regulate their emotions. They need those like hard eyes in the comments, or their like narcissistic personality construct is going to collapse in on itself, right? Like, they need it, but that also gives them the freedom to be terrible, basically, right? And the fact that, like, that every woman above a 4 in America has an inbox full of DMs from men trying to holler. Here's the thing. Women don't understand that for men, it's a numbers game. So that "what's up, beautiful," that message is going out to hundreds of women, but they don't see that. They just see their inbox full of "what's up, beautiful," and
I've
they
got a question,
think they're
Theo.
special. Like, you gotta understand. Go ahead.
Do you think that these e-thoughts who require this external validation, do you think they rank the value of a comment based on like the demographics of the person? Like, how much do you think they rate compliments from an Indian person? So I didn't know about this, but definitely some guys' attention is more valuable than others.
Yes.
That's definitely true. And so it's the more attention I can get from a better guy is gonna make the e-thoughts personality swell more.
If the guy has something that they want, be it
Money,
financial, be it status,
Yeah.
just simple physical attraction, which is rare. They're gonna play it. It's the physical attraction. May not be.
Yeah, well, I think for like social proof matters a lot. Which social proof for those that don't know, it's like proof from like okay, like as a comedian in a comedy club setting, I have social proof because I was just on stage, I made everybody laugh, and then I got off stage and everybody wanted to talk to me. That makes me that sends out a signal to everyone around that I'm a cool, important guy that you should talk to. Yeah. And that makes all the bitches' panties wet, right? Like that's what happens, right? And that's why they want to come talk. But if you saw me at 7-Eleven, I don't have social proof. I'm just coasting on looks at that point, right? Because I don't, like, I'm just another guy at 7-Eleven.
Yeah. Look, the only value you have at 7-Eleven is you could maybe bless someone's Slurpee.
Yeah, maybe. It's like, well, but that's the thing. It's like that's, you know, in that context.
Slurpees and 2 Snickers and 12 baskets full of donuts.
Right. And well, but I will say like having that context where I get treated really well. Like I go on the road, even as a comic, like even if you like don't have money or don't have a big following, like people who you're dealing with who just saw you be funny don't know that. They're just going to assume you're an important person and should be treated well. Right. And so that context allows me to take it less personally, because I'll still, like, if I go to a bar where people don't know who I am, people will still treat me like I'm not a person, you know, like people will still blow me off and treat me horribly. But I don't take it personally though, because I'm like, oh, she doesn't know who I am. If she knew who I am, she wouldn't be treating me this way. And I just kind of like, it's easier for me now to not take that shit personally. Like when I was younger, I used to take that really, you know, personally, you know, but I don't as much anymore. And I think, I don't know, it's also there's no amount, like if a woman is treating you like a fan, like if you treat her like a star, she's going to treat you like a fan. Right. And so you can't nice a girl into liking you. Once she likes you, you could be as nice as you want. Like Iron, I'm sure you're nice to Selena, right? All the time. Yeah. And because once she likes you, that's right. Once she likes you, you can be as nice as you want. And actually, if you want her to stick around, you do kind of have to be nice to her periodically. Like that's part of it. Right. But you can't nice her into liking you. And I think because that's the thing, like simping isn't even about you're just trying to, like, I feel like you're just trying to grab like a little, just like fragment of this woman's attention. And she's not worth it, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, I don't know.
Usually simping, we usually have simping. We think of e-thoughts and OnlyFans models, and probably
there's so much more than that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it definitely is. But like one of my favorite quotes from the Daredevil TV show is Wilson Fisk saying to Vanessa, "A woman that can be bought is not worth having," and that means both money and attention and regard and just an extra energy that you're giving. You can. Sometimes it'll work. Sometimes it can work because you do have to signal to a woman, "Hey, I like you and I'm interested in you." But if you're doing that for like 50 of them, it kind of reduces the effectiveness. I think women can sense that because, again, evolutionary. I think they've had to. But if she can be bought by anybody, she's not worth having. Yeah.
Well, again, that's a perfect idea.
All that takes for her to ignore you is for another guy to pay attention to her. That's maybe a little bit richer or whatever. I don't know. Then if she doesn't like you for you, then who cares?
I've come up with a perfect allegory for what simping is like.
Okay, go ahead.
And also, you got to realize that if you're doing that, if that is working, you're thinking, oh, you know, you got an in. You don't. You're not the only one. Yeah. Never assume you're the only one.
Yeah. But also never assume. Yeah, but also, never assume you're the only one. But also don't settle if you are not the only one. Like don't think that
the moment you don't live up to her expectations anymore, she's just going to drop you like a sack of potatoes and get somebody else.
And say what you will about the whatever podcast or Fresh and Fit, they did have this completely right. Women do have dating on easy mode because all a woman has to do to ever get laid is she can get laid off a question mark. Just text a guy on her phone a question mark, and then she'll get laid. A guy has to jump through so many hoops, and that's okay. That's evolutionary. That's what we're supposed to do. But I don't think women have a whole. I don't think women understand exactly what we as men have to do in order to even get her attention.
I do want to address that. Because this is an important point. First of all, the 4% of my audience that's female is here. What's up, Diana? And this is what women think about simping. To be clear, so this includes if you're simping for them. Selena, go off for a second.
No, this is exactly what we think of simping. It is pathetic. It's well, I mean, like, come on, guys. You think like someone? I think it was Iron or even Theo or Arza, who said that you're not the only one. You're not. Women are doing multiple DMs at a time, making you feel special. You just don't know it. It's behind your back. Yeah, for real. No, you're not the only one. The same person can be like, "Oh, I like you so much. You're so special." Blah blah blah. You're not.
But no,
she's GMing several guys.
Yes, this is real. And I also want to spend a little time on this idea that women have dating on easy mode, because what we're experiencing there is a little bit. Oh, Vaughn Coleman is here. What's up, buddy? It's a little bit of a failure of cross-sex mind reading. It's a little bit of a failure of cross-sex mind reading with that, because the assumption there is that I, as a man, if I could get laid easily, that would make me happier, right? So therefore that must make women happier. But you got to think of women don't want to get laid easily. That's not valuable to a woman, and they act like they do, but that's not fulfilling. You got to understand that's feminist brainwashing. What a woman wants is right. What a woman wants is a stable, long-lasting relationship with a man that she loves and respects. And that is very hard for women to get in the current market. Okay. So you got to imagine women, they're like floating on a raft in the ocean, dying of thirst, and they're surrounded by salt water. That's a much more accurate way to understand dating for women. Women are struggling too, regardless of what you may see on the internet. Women are having a really hard time getting what they want, just like men are having a hard time getting what they want. And the truth is, the model where men and women kind of like get married and choose to cooperate, both men and women are giving things up and getting things in return. That was actually a very hard negotiated set of norms, right? Where both people kind of like settle on that. Like, that's a good system for everybody, right? It's good for like the future of society. But in the current dating market, men aren't getting what they want. 'Cause here's the thing, like 20%, even the 20% of dudes that can fuck pretty much anybody are not happy. That is not a happy way to live, guys. I gotta promise you that. Being able to like
let me live it, and I'll let you know if that's true or not.
Dude, I'm telling you, no.
At least like to try.
I know, dude. I'm telling you, dude.
Challenge.
Here's the thing: I have done every nasty thing I could think of. Everything I saw in porn that I wanted to try, I tried it in real life, and it made me an empty. No, that's the content. Are you guys not fucking listening to me? I'm an empty, hollowed out shell of person that just desperately longed for the release of death. I'm telling you, dude. It is a bottomless. Hedonism is a bottomless pit of emptiness, and like it doesn't lead anywhere. That's what I'm saying. And it's like, and for women, since they have so much, that's why. Okay, you've heard of the 1,000 cock stare, where it's just a woman,
what?
Like eyes are hollowed out, and you guys don't know what I'm talking about. It's a woman who's just completely random.
I don't know.
And you just look.
Vaughn, do you want to jump in on this conversation? I can leave if you want to jump in, Vaughn. You want to come on?
No.
Wait,
yeah, hold on. Yeah. But this is the point. Like let's see, where was I at? 1,000 cock stare. Right. So you can look at these women, their eyes are completely hollowed out because they're chasing that dopamine and that short-term hedonism, and they're riding the hedonic treadmill. Okay. The way the hedonic treadmill works is you get a big spike and then you go down, and then you get a big spike and you go down, and the spikes get lower and lower. And pretty soon you need a rush of dopamine just to feel normal. You know?
Like an addiction.
This is like a depressing version of the Flash's Sonic treadmill.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. So these thoughts, what I'm saying, the reason they're always posting pictures of their asshole online for you to post hard eyes under, right, is because if you don't post hard eyes, they feel suicidal. They need it to live. I'm saying so when you post hard eyes under that e-thoughts butthole, you are keeping this ecosystem alive. This ecosystem where men and women hate each other, you are keeping it alive with your simping. And it's like, just so I'm saying is when you scroll past that butthole on the timeline, just ignore it. Just ignore it.
I have the perfect
You can
allegory.
follow.
Better
Yeah,
yet,
all you gotta do is go,
not interested, block
look at
whatever.
that.
Get 'em off your
and
timeline.
then keep going.
That's right. And you
let
just
me-
keep. Here's
More
the
will
thing.
come.
And here's
Well,
the thing.
that's just fine. Moving
And
on.
here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is what I'm saying. Is like if you quit, because here's the thing. I know if you are in a situation where you're lonely and you feel like, and you're not getting a lot of female attention. Like I know this is very easy for me to say because I just said no to the waitress with the neck tattoo last night, right? Like, so I understand. Like from my position, this is right. You're like, Theo, what the fuck do you know about being lonely? It's like, bitch, I know loneliness.
Yeah,
I'm a
kind
comedian.
of like when
You
a
have
when
no
a rich
idea what I know
person's
about
lecturing
loneliness.
a poor person on their budget.
Exactly. I
Well, I
get
mean,
that. But
sure.
what I'm saying is I understand the optics of that a little bit too. So I'm not blind to that. But here's the thing. Your options with women will improve so much if you quit simping for e-thoughts.
Correct.
I promise it will. Because here's the thing. Women see what you post on social media and they don't respect it. They
see who
don't
you're following.
respect you. Like we saw every woman who's been in the chat, the whole 4% of the female audience was here. We got to get a shirt that says the 4% on it. The whole 4% of my female audience was
good.
here. And every single one of them has been in the chat saying, yeah, simping is gross. We don't respect men who do it.
don't
Okay.
respect
So
my
that's
dog.
because chicks who watch the show, that's cool chicks, right? Awesome, cool, hot, sexy women watch this show. Shout out to the ladies. Shout out to the 4%. So what I'm saying is W's in the chat for the 4%. So what I'm saying is like those cool chicks, the ones you want to get with, they see you sipping and they're like, gross. Don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Right? That's real. Like, so you're giving attention to e-thoughts who would they would watch you get run over by a train and they'd probably go, huh? Because it gave them a
You're
little rush
actually
of
going to
dopamine.
kill your prospects of with one of those cool actual human beings
Yeah.
that
Yes.
you might actually have a connection with if they see this
Especially-
behavior because they're not going to respect you. So
Yes.
But no,
kind of
I have
like,
the perfect.
like they've made 80s teen romance movies about this. Did the hot chick with the dark bob cut like the lead character when he was simping after the cheerleader? Fuck no. It wasn't until he stood up for himself, curbed that bitch. Then she's like, all right, he has a spine. Maybe something can happen.
Yeah, like some kind of wonderful.
Vaughn asking the important questions. I do want to touch on this. Is liking a pictures of hot women simping? Yes.
Yes.
You don't have to hit the like button. You can still appreciate
Absolutely.
without hitting the like button.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially if you're using Instagram. If you follow each other, you can see who there is actually a tab up at the top right where you can click on it and see what people have liked specifically. It's a whole separate screen that you can go to, and I find that creepy as hell, and I hate it. And I can't turn it off. But actually,
yeah,
it's kind
it's
of funny.
horrible.
I've been using it to my advantage because I have a lot of people from my former church who are just diehard leftist assholes and like smug and pretentious about it too. So I like as much as the base stuff as I possibly can, so it shows up. It's like fuck you guys.
Church.
But
and
no, you
left.
see, here's the thing. I
Those are
figured
two
out. I
things
figured
that
out
don't
the
go together.
I figured out the perfect allegory for what it's like to simp. You know, there's always been a joke about how guys would go to the gym and if they find a fat woman there, they'd encourage her until she got fit, and then eventually she knew that he was always with them and they'd go for her. Problem is, these guys who are simping, they're doing that, but they're not good enough for her when she was fat.
Well, dude, I had
I think
I had
simping
one of
at
those
the end
pay
of the
off
day-
recently.
Well,
So
you know,
I'm just saying that strategy does work. I had a girl I knew when she was like, she recently lost like 100 pounds, and then she was hitting my DMs with the photos of her glow up, and I was like, oh shit, this is why I'm saying. It was like I bought Bitcoin in 2010. It was fucking. You know what I'm saying? It
Well,
was
you
great.
think about it. You think about it. That if you do that, and How I Met Your Mother had a whole joke about this, where Barney Stinson goes to gyms specifically and hits on the fattest women there, specifically so that they'll work harder, and then eventually they'll drop the weight, gain more self-respect, and remember the guy who was there for her when she didn't look great. You think about it. That signals to a woman that you're a lot more interested in her, in her personality and herself at that moment, because if you're in a gym, you're not in the best shape, or you're trying to get better. So if you are indeed going to the gym and seeing that woman who's maybe who's a little overweight, that signals to her probably a deeper connection than it would just simping, Because simping, I think it signals to women, they know that if it wasn't them, if it wasn't that one woman, it'd be somebody else, it'd be somebody else. So there's no consistency there. They don't trust your intentions, they don't trust your personality, they don't trust your judgment. Because I think at the end of the day, they know what they're doing is especially the hyper booby assy women who just post thirst traps on Instagram all day. I think they know what they're doing. They don't feel very good about themselves, and so they don't like the men who like that. But whereas in the gym, it's a bit different because you're not there to be looked at. You're not there to be ogled. You're there to work. You're there to work.
Dude, I don't know if you've been to the gym lately, but I was at the gym the other day. I saw a girl with see-through yoga pants, and her whole workout was bending over. So I'm just getting butthole right in my eye.
Yeah, I love it when I go to work down and I'm rusted upon by camel toes.
Was there a phone set up somewhere?
Camera set up. Dude, I'm telling you, here's the thing. Do women ever? I don't think women leave the house with their nipples exposed without knowing they did it, right? So if I'm in the gym and I see a girl's nipples through her shirt, I have to assume she knows. There's mirrors on all the walls. I have to assume she knows it's happening, right?
Of course she does.
She made the choice to.
Everything was a conscious choice. What she was wearing, everything else. We kind of talked about this with Melanie Mack. Everything that she does, what she wears, her makeup, her hair is all a conscious choice to generate clicks and increase her reach. Vaughn has a good question. So should I start unfollowing hot chicks on Insta? It depends.
100%. Start today. You should have started yesterday.
Are they other creators or something that just happen to be attractive, or are they basically ethos?
Here's the thing. I'm very hard line on this. Iron, you may disagree with me. I'm very hard line on this. Let's say it's like you're following a page and it's like Science Girl and she does experiments with her tits out. You unfollow that shit anyway. Right. It doesn't matter. Even if she has.
Do you follow the cake sitting girl?
I do not. I get recommended the cake sitting girl. I don't follow.
I hate it.
There is a big difference between like following the hot girl and a hot girl doing something. Because, for instance, I'm following one of my favorite pages now. It's this based Irish chick. She's married. Damn it. Otherwise, I'd totally be in her DMs. But she just raises. She's not. She covers. She's like in baggy. She's in baggy clothing. That kind of took me back.
You're gonna have to go back to insert title
a previous episode
and find the lore, Diana. It's funny though.
The previous episode of another program. This is the deep lore, Diana.
It's depressing. I'm not gonna lie.
She's on a farm. She raises all these. She has a hobby farm, and she's in the middle of Ireland, so her accent is hot as hell. But she's not. But she herself is hot in a very milk maiden type way. It's funny because she's based and she like, here's my crop, here's my tomatoes, I'll cut them open and here's what that looks like, here's how I'm putting sheep's wool over here to protect it from this. It's actually interesting information. She just happens to be hot. That's a bit different than someone she said Theo, here's my board game collection. Oh, by the way, my tits are out. I
don't know. You like Becky Lynch, don't you?
I don't know who that is actually.
It's kind of a
Seth Rollins' wife, WWE.
There can be attractive women that actually have value, do something interesting that are still warranted. You can't just be like, you can't be that discriminatory. Like, nope, she's attractive, not follow.
Yeah, W's in the chat for friend of the show, Vaughn Coleman, making the choice to de-slut his timeline.
As long as you're not loving them, they don't know that you're
Question yourself,
them.
Why are you following them? If that's the reason why, then yes, you're on the fine line of going over to the dark side when it comes to this behavior.
And I made the choice to go hard line.
You're learning math from a hot girl. It doesn't decrease the effectiveness of the math that you're learning, but being in the class certainly has.
Well, you see, doing that right when my knowledge increases, so does the size of my erection. So
yes,
this is what I'm saying. This is okay. I'm very hardline on this, but I also do no internet porn. I also I don't like, and I also
Playboys these days,
and I don't consume. assume, like, I'm much more strict, but I'm also Catholic, so I'm much more strict with my consumption than maybe other people are. But I think Iron is setting a much more reasonable standard. I have a much more hardline standard with myself, you know, which is very challenging to uphold. Like, I fall short of it all the time, but that's what the standard is, right? Now, I think as a start, definitely, if the girl's showing her butthole and you followed her for the butthole pics, definitely unfollow that girl.
Yeah.
You know? But like if it's like hot science girl, then you got to be like, okay, did I follow for the hot science or the girl part? You know?
Okay,
like,
so here's a question then, Theo.
Well, also keep in mind, you can look back on all these people's timelines. You can see when because there's another a gamer kind of gamer girl had like funny gaming sketches.
Yeah.
But you can kind of tell when she realized that she was hot and got more clicks and interactions. When she was hot, like, oh, you're wearing a little bit more revealing clothing. It's like she's with somebody. I found that kind of weird. But like she definitely started incorporating that into more of her content. Like, okay, no, I'm not doing that. Even though it's a question, right? It's very clever, and I identify with it a lot.
You will see that's the gassed up mids. Okay, you'll see these chicks go on for like, I just want to talk about a movie or talk about this or that. They start gaining a following. They start getting the compliments, and then suddenly things start to change.
Yeah. Well, that's what you remember. I told you guys I did a show recently. By the way, the clip from that show is on my Patreon. Make sure to go to Patreon and subscribe to get access to that show. During that show, after the show, I met this girl who was former OnlyFans creator, obese, entitled, just all the things I talk about in my comedy. So I had to talk to her after the show. And one of the things she asked me was, "Are you intimidated by me?" And I'm like, fucking no.
Only by your gravitational field.
Why would that ever even enter your mind? And she was disappointed to hear me say no. And
when
it's
you're
like,
on the verge of being a singularity. Like, I'm pretty intimidated.
But that's what I'm saying is like in her mind, this is what Iron's talking about, this gassed up mid phenomenon where she goes out of the world and she thinks that with her, you know, respectfully, her mediocrity, like she was a pretty just run-of-the-mill woman, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know. She thought she would, when I had to work so hard, like she doesn't understand, like in order to get her attention, I had to produce a comedy show with money I made doing comedy. In order to get good enough at comedy to do that, I had to be homeless for a while. I had to suffer. I had to turn down actual job opportunities so that I could focus on comedy. I had to starve for a little bit. I had to couch surf. I lived on a train for a while. Like I had have the kind of childhood where being funny was a prerequisite for survival. You know what she had to, that's how I got her attention, right? What she did to get my attention was show up on time in a low cut shirt, and she couldn't even show up on time, right? So she did one thing. She just picked an outfit with her tits out and showed up and was loud. And I was like, that one. Right. So she doesn't understand the difference in, and I think a lot of women don't appreciate what men have to do to be attractive versus they just have to kind of like show up showered, and they don't even really have to shower. I mean, Arza, I'm sure you don't care if a woman smells nice. You'll stick it, right?
Smell is everything, bud.
What is this?
I don't believe you. Nate, I'm calling bullshit on that right now. I think if Melanie Mack,
if I walk up to a bitch and she smells like straight tuna, I am walking away.
Dude, I don't believe you. I think if Melanie Mack knocked on the door of your tiny home, just stinking of Bacardi and menthol cigarettes, you would.
No, she would
let her fuck you senseless.
No, she would get stone cold stunned off my fucking porch.
No, I don't believe you. I don't believe you, bro.
Menthol cigarettes and Bacardi actually don't smell necessarily bad, but like
you're like, well, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. They do when she's breathing them into your
nostrils. Name a bad smell first, Theo. Come on.
God damn, you guys are disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely.
You so much. Iron, can you help me out, please? These guys are degenerate.
No.
Look who's talking.
I don't like women that smell like tuna. That's degenerate. The hell?
Well,
the
no,
hell?
if they're
I don't believe you.
Well, if it's a nasty natural odor, that's one thing. Like a man who hasn't showered for for 2 weeks, he's gonna smell pretty.
No, that's called musk, Strider. That's called musk. We wear that with pride.
Yeah.
No, take a fucking shower.
This is
That's
also
some self-respect.
this is also important. The
And
4% is speaking. The 4% is speaking up
not
again.
stink either.
Take a
To
bar
be clear,
soap and wash your
I
ass.
do shower daily. Okay, I'm not one of the musky guys. Don't
Good.
worry. But okay, so Theo, I've got a question for you then. I got a question
Yeah.
for you. Right. So what if you follow a girl, right? Because
Right.
she does ironic, sexy cosplays, like it's a joke, and she's in on the joke, but she's also showing her tits off.
Oy, that's tough.
Isn't that
No,
also? A
Are you
form of
following her for the
peacocking?
joke? Or are you following her for the tits? Is it a mix of the tits and joke?
It's
I
a
don't
mix
know.
of the
It's,
joke, the tits, and the
Cosplay is kind of a-
cosplays.
kind
It's
of a
all
weird
three.
thing.
It's all
No.
three.
Because there are women that do really good cosplay, but if it's like over sexualized like all the time, okay, there's
See,
a
one of my
pattern
rules
here.
with cosplayers, because
Sure.
I'm actually trying to get some cosplayers on the show to kind of, just liven things up
Yeah.
and increase the diversity of the
I'll
panel.
be there
so it's
every
not such
Friday.
a fucking sausage fest. And you guys better be fucking regular.
This
human
is
beings
what I'm
not ridiculous
saying.
I
animals.
won't be. I won't be. I
But
actually
hold
have.
on. One
Wait,
of my
wait, wait.
rules is I'll check. It's like, okay, am I going to follow this one and maybe see if we can't get this person booked to the show? They make their own costumes. It's pretty talented. It looks accurate to the game, movie, comic, whatever. I go to the link tree. If there's an OnlyFans, moving on.
Correct.
Mhm.
Yes. Correct.
But it's like she's got like a pyramid head from, I think it's Silent Hill,
yeah.
but it's pyramid head with a giant ass pyramid head thing,
Now
and
hear
then
me
like
out.
a really skimpy outfit underneath,
would.
What?
Well,
and it's
because-
done with the irony behind it.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that specifically, because that specific costume works with the sexualization, because that whole game revolves around a man's repressed
Yeah, it's
sexual urges.
sadomasochism,
That makes
sexuality. That's all ingrained into
Yeah.
the into the
Nurses
game.
would.
But
And a lot
if
of that
she's
content
dressed- if
is
she's dressed
overtly
like
sexual.
Bowser, but if she's dressed like Bowser, that and like showing everything the Lord gave her, then that's different.
Well,
That's very
and here's the thing. This is the other thing too. This is what Drunken is pointing out here. You actually can't control what the women are doing. The only thing you can control is how you react to it, and
Yes.
the market is going to respond.
Correct.
OnlyFans, the supply of OnlyFans emerged because of the demand created by simping. So, like, they wouldn't be doing it if y'all weren't kissing their asses. Yeah, that's
That
what
was-
I'm saying. Is
that was-
like so.
The
Like,
thing
if
about
we
OnlyFans is
stop
just-
if we stop paying the internet prostitutes, they will have to get real jobs. Subway is hiring. These sandwiches.
but
are
what
way
would the
cheaper.
OnlyFans spend their
I
money
mean,
on?
I can't agree with you, but
Make
the thing-
content of value. Have something to say.
Yes, yes. And what I really hate seeing is when girls, like, I saw this happen recently with a girl. My buddy told me about it. She was doing computer science content. She realized she could make more money on OnlyFans, so she jumped ship. And it's like, you got girls who. Here's the thing: I'm not. I always say I'm an advocate for benevolent patriarchy, but that doesn't mean I don't think women shouldn't do things, especially if they can. Like, if you're a woman and you're capable of making cool, dope, engaging content, that's awesome. And it
Impossible.
sucks if you can make more money doing OnlyFans, so you stop doing content that makes the world a better place and you start doing OnlyFans because that's where the money is. Like, that sucks. I
Okay, wait.
hate that.
Hear me out. How about
then
this? How about this?
Think about it like this, Nate. If somebody started watching your D&D stream and started simping hard for a whole slew of them and hinting that they would give you money to take off your shirt and put illicit pictures on another site, and that money was in the triple digits, would you want to do it?
All right, I told you that.
Look, if somebody wants me to take
Thinking.
my shirt off, I don't know why,
I
but
don't know.
I'll go for it.
I don't know what I'd do in this situation.
Dude, I tell you what you do.
Well, hold on. Here's what I was gonna say. Here's the thing.
Think about
A lot of these women get told that that they'll make like six figures off OnlyFans, and look, some of them do,
So many don't.
unfortunately.
Sure.
But here's the problem. You have it seems like you have an entire generation of women now that have heard this message and are trying it out. And instead of making six figures every fucking week, they're just putting all these pictures on the internet, and they're not getting anything out of it. And the only thing they're getting in return is that they're ruining their reputation. They're ruining any chance of opportunities
Ever
that they
being
might have
taken
down the line.
seriously.
Yeah. So you have an entire generation of women who are falling into this trap that's just leading them down the road to absolutely nowhere. And it's sad to watch, man, because there's a lot of girls I went to school with that have fallen for this trap. And I'm talking girls that had like straight A's, AB honor roll.
Yeah.
I mean, they they graduated top of their class, and they're selling pictures of their ass on OnlyFans for like $5, and no one's buying them. It's so
Ouch.
Yeah, because
it's-
it
That's
used to
worse.
be with the temptation of money lead a girl to go work at a club, at a strip club. Now, all they have to do is to have that same temptation is a camera and a ring light and an internet connection.
Let me ask this question next.
Podcast.
Go ahead.
What do you think led to the rise of this? Is it the allure or the possibility of making something out of that, or is it the fact that they just think out there in the real world they're not going to be able to make something of them?
Well, hold on, real quick, before we do that, because I do want to get into that question. But while you guys are unsubscribing from OnlyFans because of the influence of my podcast, make sure to take that money, slide over to Patreon. Go ahead and give that money to me. That's what I'm saying.
To be fair, comedy. Okay, actually, you know what, Theo? This is a great point, right? So men and women have different commodities. A woman's commodity for a pure transactional is her body.
Yes.
A man's purely transactional commodity is his humor.
Yeah,
you are
to be
literally
fair,
the same thing.
Yes,
You're just a man whore.
Yes,
that's all you are.
No, he's right. Like, I'm a man with a podcast. That's the male equivalent of an OnlyFans whore. Yeah, women don't respect men with podcasts. Like, I don't tell people I do this. Like, if you know what I'm saying, like, if I bring that up,
it depends on what you have to say. I think that I totally respect men who do podcasts who have something to say, though. Like, not just
appreciate.
So you have no respect for Theo. Got it.
Hold on. I do want to get back to Nate's question. Like,
Vaughn had a great. He's got a great
motivating women to do this.
Chat.
Here's the thing. I think what is the loneliness epidemic? That's
2020.
That's huge.
True.
Here's the thing. This is something I want to drill down on because a lot of people have this idea that women. Well, part of the problem is that we've lowered the barrier to entry for prostitution to where you can do it from your home. Right. All you need is a phone and a ring light.
Yeah,
right?
that is not something that should be remote work at all.
Well, yeah, well, and here's the thing. Here's part of the problem is, like, we have this idea that OnlyFans whores are women who are just down on their luck and desperate, and they're doing this as a last resort, and that is overwhelmingly not the case. Like, they're just looking for an easy way
narcissism.
out. Yes,
Well,
it's
that's
all
what
about
you're not
harming
doing.
the
Job.
attention.
Well, and
When,
also OnlyFans is
Nate
literally
asked the
marketing to people. They're literally buying ads on Instagram, and I've mentioned this many times before. I'll scroll and I'll be like, "Here's how this," and I don't even know. I won't even see who did it, but I won't even see the company what the ad is. But it's like, "Hey, Dad, I'm paying off your and Mom's mortgage." Oh my God, how did you do this? It's totally it's totally organic.
Yeah.
I did it through.
Is that an ad or
OnlyFans.
propaganda? There's a difference.
Bro,
No.
I just think
Real quick,
advertised on Instagram. Kids use that shit. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Before I forget what I was going to say, real quick, just Nate's question. Theo had a great point, and so did Selena. The narcissism. It's not just I'm just trying to work my way through college, or the monetary thing. No. They're also feeding on the attention.
Mm-hmm.
And they probably have so many other, probably just as lucrative or better options, but this gives them that dopamine hit of the attention, the getting all of they love having their horde of simps, all of that.
Yeah,
it's not just
Because it's also the mid girls. We were talking about mid girls.
Yeah,
right.
How they
like the mid girls are huge on promoting themselves as
gassed up mids. You're finally getting everything they ever want. There's so much more than this. The money isn't all that they're after.
And here's the thing. This is what I'm going to say.
They need the hard eyes and the hey beautiful.
They need that
in the
dopamine
comments.
rush.
All
Yeah.
that.
They're probably not going to get that in their immediate environment because there's always going to be someone more attractive who's going to pull all the attention. But you increase that pool by like millions by going on OnlyFans because millions of people could get on, and you increase your reach by reaching like everyone from all over the world can suddenly now give you all the validation that you would not have in your
validation. That's the word.
Here's the thing, right? If a gassed up mid really wants just straight validation from anybody, there's a really easy solution. She can get it for the rest of her life as long as she's not a total bitch. She just has to ask someone like me out. A gassed up mid asking me who's mid.
Right.
That's all she needs is one mid guy, and if she's not a bitch, I'll say yes in an instant, probably.
You're
and
not
then she's
mid.
got
Don't
validation for the
stoop
rest of
that
her
level.
life.
Yeah.
No, mids. First of all, ours is right. Most of you should be fucking mids right now. Most of you. That's reality. Most people should be fucking mids, myself included. Mids are awesome, actually. Mids are great because a mid will treat you well. A mid breakfast on the table in the morning. She'll have hot coffee ready for you. You know, hot women are overrated. No disrespect, Selena. Hot women are overrated because they don't feel like they have to work as hard. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't, you know.
A mid guy will never cheat on a mid woman because a mid guy can't get any better.
Yeah, because you guys are actually like, you know, it fits together. Like, dude, Arza, you should be with a mid, but the problem is the market's fucked up. It's right. Okay, we'll have some terminology for Diane. So a mid, is like somebody in that like 4 to 7 range, just like, or maybe not 4 to 6 range. So just the average attractiveness, which is like everybody. Yeah, it's just like most people. I'd say about half the population is mid, and then
if you
like
picture a bell curve,
is
approximately 66% of the population is going to be mid.
Right.
Approximately 15% of the population is going to be just outside of mid, and then like a significantly small portion of the population will be outside of that.
Mid men. We're forklift drivers.
Somebody's scissoring
it's
out.
like
Somebody's
office
scissoring.
workers.
We load beer. We load beer on 14 wheelers. That's what
hold on. Emerald, put this. Friends don't let friends.
Yes. Ooh,
I
that's
love
like
it.
a new T-shirt.
We need to all buy that and then wear it to Vegas.
Yeah, dude. And that's the thing. It's like, but one of the problems with the internet is it's preventing mids from hooking up with each other because you know part of it is like if you're a guy, you are fed a nonstop stream of pictures and images of guys doing better than you and hot girls and all the way to mid girls from like the whatever podcast, you know, talking about how dog shit they think men are and how low their opinion of men is. Right. So if you're a guy and you're just an average dude trying to make it out here and you're looking at your phone, like what's your incentive to fucking go outside? Right. Because every single message is just telling you to quit, you know, because, you know, you don't have a Bugatti. So why even try? And I think that's right. And of course, with the problem with Camry, and there's the gassed up mids issue where you've got a lot of women are getting so much external validation. Like that woman I met at the show in real life. Like she thought that I was going to be intimidated by her, even though I'm like at least 4 to 7 more points more attractive than her. She thinks that I'm somehow gonna be intimidated by because I'm not just good looking. I'm also funny. I have a cool job. Like I'm like,
wait, is
nothing.
Theo a guest at mid? Hold up.
I would not have fucking held back the moment she said that.
But
like I would immediately like taken the mic and gone, hey
Theo, Iron's back.
Oh, Iron's back. Hold on, let's get Iron back in here. My bad.
The answer is yes. I'm intimidated of land whales.
So, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't. Here's the thing.
Shut up, bitch.
No,
because I
would have taken the microphone and gone, okay, who the hell let Gojira in here?
No, well, here's the thing. I don't have a lot of like pent up rage. You might not get this from my comedy, but I don't feel like I have a lot of pent up. I don't have a lot of pent up rage against women. Like I don't feel the need to like actually like be mean to them. So typically, because here's the thing. This is one thing I noticed. I've never had an argument with a cute feminist.
They don't exist.
You know what I'm saying? It's always
like having an argument with Santa Claus or a unicorn.
Yeah, exactly. Like, here's the thing. Usually what happens is there's a group of 3 or 4 girls, and 3 of them are great, and there's one of them who's the least attractive, and she's the loudest and the rudest. And I'll go up and
for the rest of them.
Right.
And getting Michael
because here's the thing. Here's the thing.
Therapy are higher than
Here's
that.
the thing. So but here's the thing. That is the only way she can get male attention is by being rude and confrontational. So I knew, so when I used to live in LA, I knew this girl and I got an opportunity. I got invited to like parties with rich people in LA. So a rich people party in LA means everyone is hot. Right. And there was this one girl who would go to these parties and she was also from a rich family, but she was really, really, really conventionally unattractive. And she was quite heavy and she had a rough time in the face department as well. You know, these are girls with like thousands of Instagram followers, every single one. Even if they're not big on Instagram, they got thousands because they're just that beautiful. This girl had like 3. Right. So she had things she would say at parties that were just designed to start arguments with film bros. Like Quentin Tarantino is overrated or Batman's a furry. And she would like if you were talking to a hot girl, she would come up and like interrupt you with something inflammatory. And it's like, why is she doing that? Oh, guess what? She's attracted to film bros right? And she can't get their attention any other way, right? Other than to start these confrontations. And once I realized that, here's the thing. Once I realized that, I stopped being annoyed with her and I started to kind of feel bad for her. And that's kind of where I'm at with these like feminists who are clearly so unhappy with their lives and they're trying to take it out on me because they don't understand that I used to be a fat nerd and I look cool
I feel
to
personally
now
targeted by that.
No, well, here's the thing. They look at me and they see a guy who blew them off in high school, right? But that was not me. And this is new for me, right? Like I had to work for this shit, but they don't understand that. So they're attacking me because of their own sadness, right? And so I kind of I'm like, oh, sweetie, that's kind of how I react to it now. So I don't feel the need to have like an angry response, and this is what I mean by women are people is like, once you make that connection, then it's like a lot easier to deal with some of the negative behaviors because you see what's behind it, okay, like the e-thoughts, the reason it's so easy for me to be like, I'm not giving them any attention is because I know once that attention dries up, they're going to have to look in the mirror and actually like analyze themselves and actually become better people,
Wait,
so
they can't look in the mirror, they're too big, they don't fit.
No, well, here's the thing. If we're leaving hard eyes under their comments, you are stopping them from
gravitational pull shatters the mirror.
Yes.
Yes, and every time you deal with a rude-ass woman, right, that's a woman who got too much gas and too much validation. So every time you gas up one of these mids, you're giving her a license to go be rude to one of your brothers in the streets. That's
do you think the sisterhood plays into a lot of that treatment? Because I think a lot of
100% does.
Yeah, because I think a lot, and I'm trying to be fair because I'm sure this happens.
Because we've given people a means to be validated on a massive scale without having to actually do much to earn it.
Yeah, because I really feel like in our world now, like women can get away with literal physical abuse on the internet and not get fucking canceled for it, or much less arrested, And I really do feel like there's a huge sisterhood out there that is afraid to hold their sisters accountable, and the sisterhood exists to validate. It doesn't exist to hold people accountable. Yeah. Whereas, men, I think men are way. They could be just my experience, but I almost feel like men are more apt to keep each other accountable and keep each other from doing stupid stuff as long as it's funny. I think we keep each other in line more than women do, and I'm wondering.
Yeah, well, let me address that because I think that's a good point. So first of all, let's address Superman's comment here. Superman, if it was good, Green Rocks, friend of the show. A man who can conquer his desire can become a king. One that lets his desire control him will always stay a peasant. That's really important, guys. And this is what I'm saying is like getting rid of the simping is like. It's really important to your self-development in ways that are hard to express. It's really important. But I want to address this idea. So the reason the sisterhood is toxic now is because the purpose of the sisterhood is to act as a labor union to make the world better for women and children, right? But now the sisterhood is just making the world better for single women. And that's a problem because instead of being about us, the children, the future of the society, now it's about me, the individual single woman and what's good for me. Give me more stuff, right? So it's performing its function, but because a lot of women are not having kids, that function is getting hijacked. And that's why we're seeing all this like selfishness that's being validated.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Iron. What do you think? Like you mentioned how feminists are typically unattractive, yet when they increase their numbers, they can take, reasonably attractive to very attractive women, and then they morph them into like, God, I will make you in my own image. And it's a very, just that hive mind. They turn it all into that. They all become each other.
Yeah. And it's the problem with it is like, I understand why people are frustrated. I get that. It's just, I guess one of the things you got to deal with is like, I think a lot of men are looking for how they can punch back. And I have the unfortunate news for you is the way you can fight back is by learning to just take the abuse with emotional neutrality. And I hate to say that, but you got to just, I mean, if you want to see an example of this, look at last week's episode of Touch Grass. You kind of just have to let women yell at you, talk down to you, belittle you, and just sit there and take it. Like, your ability to sit there and take it is how you're going to get through. Like, there is no, I mean, it's really cool. I like watching old clips of Patrice O'Neal dunking on women just as much as the next guy. But the truth is, if you want to get through this world with the way things are now, you just got to be able to let that shit wash off your back like water off a duck. You know what I'm saying?
I will certainly, I will not push back on it, but I think it needs to be clarified. If that is a pattern with the woman that you're with, dump her like a bad habit. Like, get away from that woman. You can do it situationally. Like, if you you say you're in a bar getting like your ass reamed out by some feminist who decided to scream at you. That's one thing. But if that's like your lady, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever, if someone is habitually doing that, someone's in your life doing that, you don't put up with that. In fact, that is the ultimate test of whether or not you are confident in yourself and you can stand up for yourself. Are you going to put up with consistent disrespect? That's why I'm sympathetic, but at the same time, I'm kind of not. Like, whenever I see in those movies, the browbeaten, completely whipped man and the overbearing wife, woman, girlfriend in his life who just runs his life and he's got no say in it. I have nothing but contempt for someone like that because there's no strength. There's no. It's not a relationship. That is a domineering dynamic, and nobody is served by that. She hates herself. She hates that she has to do it. He hates himself for letting her, and it's destined.
Well,
for destruction.
Here's the thing. So I'll touch on this a little bit more, and I want to get to Gall's point because her point is really good. Now I get to the point where I don't fight with feminists unless somebody's paying me to do it on a podcast. So if I'm in a bar now and a woman starts, because I see it coming, it happens all the time because I'm doing stand-up comedy in America. So it happens all the time. I'm just like, you seem great. God bless you. And then I keep it pushing, and usually when I do that, she's yelling at me as I'm walking away. Like, she wants the attention to keep going, but my attention is valuable to me and my sense of peace is valuable to me. When I was younger, I'd sit there and like duke it out just for point for fun. But I realized it's like, that's what they want. This is important because I want to drill down to this. This is women can't police other women unless they are real friends with each other. Otherwise, the one tries to police is attacked by simps and catty women. And this is what I mean by the problem is only going to get better if men start acting right. Because here's the thing. If we go back to the recent episode of Touch Grass, cool chicks outnumbered obnoxious chicks on that panel 3-1. Okay. But the obnoxious chick was the loudest. Right. So it made it look like,
There's one thing we're forgetting is that when a woman speaks out, even if she's saying something that the fat obnoxious chicks don't like, she's immediately called a pick-me.
Well, that's right. So there's other thing you got to understand is when women do try to police other women's behavior, they face a lot of social consequences. And that's also not how they get down. Like, here's the thing. Like the women, what they do is they kind of look at each other and be like, that girl's out of pocket. And they form a little estrogen lynch mob. And privately, that girl is excluded. You can't sit with us. She doesn't get invited to shit anymore. Right. But that all happens covertly and men don't see it. So what men see is the loudest girl in the room and they think that that's representative of all of that because they don't see the women dealing with it, right? But you got to understand women pay such significant social consequences for dealing with stuff like that directly and confrontationally that they have to figure out a covert way to do it. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just, you got to understand the kind of like female combat that women are up against on like a daily basis, right? So it's really tough. That's why you got girls like Selena who are like, I don't really hang out with women. It's not because women are bad at making friends. It's because they have all of this subtle, passive aggressive social combat that they're engaged in all the time and they can't help it. It's just how they are. Like, it just is what it is. And men, we don't really face that. Like, I hang out with you guys because I like you. I don't hang out with you guys so I can secretly destroy you and get you to get an unflattering haircut and, make you fat on purpose. So, like, you know what I mean?
What you were doing to me.
Like, that's, they don't like. But women will do that to each other. They'll be like, girl, you look so good with a pixie cut. Oh my God. You should just put on like 20 pounds and get a pixie cut. That'd be so good for you. Oh
my God. Why do you sound like that?
Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah. And well, This is what I'm saying. This is why I'm saying men need to act right, because it's like, men have to if men set the standard, women will kind of like go along with it, right? And so if men stopped simping, OnlyFans would go away. If men stopped
I don't know about that, because OnlyFans
absolutely.
is an option.
It may not go away, but the influence it has could definitely lessen.
Yeah, the influence it has on the zeitgeist is going to go away.
The other weird thing is men should realize that they can already get their porn for free. I don't understand. I will never understand. Because there's
here's
you get
Arza.
attention from the woman. I understand that.
It's the simulation of a connection.
Goes back to what Vaughn said. Loneliness is an epidemic. The guys aren't just, of course, they've already. You think the guys that are paying the OnlyFans or the girls on Twitch don't already have bookmarks for porn? Of course they do. They're paying for that interpersonal weird, replacement for an actual relationship.
The parasocial relationship.
Yes,
yeah.
there we go. That's the word
I was just going to
Guys,
say,
the stripper actually likes me.
I was just going to say, parasocial relationships are not good. They're not good. They're not good for your mental health, and they're not good for your social development as well. So,
Look, I understand being
just
in that
don't do it.
desperate position, but I've got to say, I'd rather just eat a shotgun than simp. You know,
Yeah, and that's
there comes a
real.
point where I don't. Where
should be the
people
attitude
need
you
to
But
address their lack. Of
Also, I do
self-confidence.
want to be clear for the listening audience: those are not your only two choices.
I
Like
just-
there is. Here's the thing. I was okay.
However, I will add this. I
Yeah.
will say your integrity and how you view yourself should be that important to you, to where you would rather eat a 9 mil than simp. Like your self-respect should be that vital to your existence, because that's how you filter through all the bullshit. If you are willing, if you have a spine of titanium, you can stand up to anything, and you can recognize that kind of manipulative
Spine of
behavior from the
adamantium.
beginning. Yeah, exactly. You can recognize that from the beginning because you know your worth, you know yourself, you know who you are, you like yourself. You need to get to that point where you like yourself and you know the worth first. But once you have that solidified in stone, and someone else tries to come along and chip that away, you're like, go away. I don't need you. And a lot of times women don't necessarily like the men that they're with. They like who they think they could be. And sometimes that's not a bad thing, especially because we all have things we need to improve. But more often than not, I see a lot of women fall for men who they are, and they see future things not according to what is natural for that man to do, but for what the woman wants that man to do in her mind. And that's where a lot of relationship problems come in, especially if there's been very little communication as to what he wants versus what she wants. And that's why communication is incredibly important. But like, you have to know yourself, what you are willing to compromise on, because there's always something going to be compromised on. But your core values, your core image of yourself and what you want and who you are, that should be so important to you that you don't get anywhere near simping. Because what is simping? You are showing that my attention is for sale, that my regard is for sale, and you hate yourself for doing it, man. We all hate each other for ourselves for doing it, but we feel like it's the only thing we have to give left, the only thing we have to give in order for women to notice us. It's not. Have a little bit more self-respect, and that's hard to do though, because especially in this world, we're told that men ain't shit.
Well, but also the other thing that's important is I want to make space for Iron to jump in too. But I want to say self-respect is like, okay, self-respect is earned. And what I mean by that is here's a phrase I love. I don't believe in myself. I have evidence. Like, I know that I can go on stage at any dive bar in middle America and fucking crush, because I've done that shit. I've been on the road. I've done hard rooms, and I know I can do it.
Show off.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and that came from practice. And for men, like, you kind of just have to do things. Like what I say this to Nate and Arza all the time, is like, you guys have, everyone in your generation wants to have a sick ass YouTube channel and wants to have the talent to actually do that and wants to have a perspective to bring to the table. You guys have that, right? That's fucking awesome that you have that. You have something to build. You built something already and you have an opportunity to build it more. That's badass. People are going to think that's cool, and people are going to be drawn to you because they wish they could do that. And women are going to see that and admire that and want to be with you because you're doing cool shit, right? That's the process of you as a young guy building yourself up and earning the right to respect yourself. You know,
I
like
just-
that's-
I
that's-
just-
Can I?
I
Go
just
ahead.
play.
Real
I just
quick,
play.
Nate, that shrug and that look and everything you did while Theo was saying what he was saying, that's your problem right there. That reaction. You are your own worst enemy when you react that way. To
I
that
used to
kind
do
of
the same thing.
to those
So
kind of
along
advice.
that-
And I know it's because I've done the same thing.
Yeah,
So
everyone
I
does.
know how you feel, but that is a problem. That is something your biggest problem. You got to work out. That
Well,
stop
I
that.
also, that
No
was
chuckling allowed. Not
I
allowed.
I just played.
Well, I just
I-
think it's because eventually
I just
that will
played
stop
D&D. That's
with
it.
age.
I
just
just
swing
played
your
D&D,
dick,
that's
bro. Let your nuts hang. Jesus Christ.
Now here, Theo, can I detour for a second about that whole
Yes.
thing about content creators? So I have a lot of friends who want to be content creators and kind of want to do either this or gameplay or something. And I have a friend, and I'm glad he doesn't watch this kind of content.
You got a
'cause
friend in you?
I wish. You want to be that friend?
No, I
No,
don't.
so I have a friend who he does gameplay videos, and he's so
my.
bad about his videos that he refuses to edit his own stuff. And let me see if I can find it, because basically he has a bunch of friends who've agreed to edit when they have free time. Problem is none of them have free time, so he texts them all, yelling at them, being like, basically demanding that they actually do editing. Like, if I pay you $10, will you fucking give me some product?
Dude.
I'm like,
He's bullying them.
Dude. Well, here's the thing. So I'm gonna tell you how I handled that situation. So I like the part of stand-up comedy where, well, it's while ours is pulling up the thing he wants to show us. The part of stand-up comedy I like is the part where I write jokes and say them in front of people. I don't like the part where I do the online, I make the videos, I edit them. I don't like any of that. I don't like none of that shit. But I've got a buddy, he does like the camera stuff. He does like to edit things, right? So what I did was I made him my business partner. Now we work together, right? I can't afford to pay him on a per video basis, but like whatever this ends up becoming, he gets a chunk of it, right? And I don't bully him because he has a full-time 9-to-5 that he's doing. Like I'm kind of like in the streets fucking sweating it out. He has like a fiance and a daughter, so he actually has to live inside. You know, I can live in a Honda Accord if I have to. He doesn't have that option, right? So I'm out here thugging it out, you know. But, you know, he works on it when he can, so I don't bully him about it. We meet, you know, once a week to just get as much done as we can on a day that we have off, and we communicate by phone during the week, and I kind of let him take things at his pace, and he gets a chunk of whatever we can make together. That's how your friend would handle that if he were any kind of man. That's what I'm saying, right? So you can pay people with equity, even if you can't pay people with cash, but you got to compensate people for their labor. You can't, that entitled attitude is what rubs people the wrong way. And that's not how you get people to cooperate with you. You don't get people to cooperate through entitlement, dude. You know? Anyway, where were we talking about? Were you posting something about
you had mentioned how that
I do
every
have a
single
question
person
for the
wants to
panel
be
and
a
the chat
content
regarding
creator.
simping.
Okay,
Go ahead,
hold
Rick.
on. Hold on. Let's look at what the chat is saying. Rogue Nerd hopping in. You know, when you're sipping, it feels like that nagging feeling at the back of your head, asking if it's worth it. Sipping is ignoring that question. That's so true. That's so true. You know, you don't respect yourself when you're doing it. You know, you can feel it. You can feel it not being worth it when you're doing it, and yet, you know, you're stuck. Because here's the thing: we've all done it. I am probably one of the worst offenders on this issue. You think I was always like this? Why do you think I'm like this? If you had to guess, what do you think happened in my backstory that turned me into this? Right? It's like I came across a girl who had absolutely no regard
It's
for
all
me.
starting to make sense.
That
now.
I was like head over heels for, and I would have done. One time, I gave a girl money so she could buy condoms to use with her boyfriend. That's how bad.
Good Lord, Theo. Good
I
fucking
was
Lord.
16. I was 16.
Jesus.
That was
Okay,
right.
that's
Saying.
excusable.
That's
That's excusable. 16-year
how bad it
teenager, you don't
was,
know
right?
better, yeah.
Imagine
And again,
imagine
now
buying
I'm-
condoms and you don't get to use them.
That's right.
I mean, I
That's
have
right.
had that experience, but not in that way.
But here's the thing. This is what I'm saying is like, that's how. So what I'm saying is I'm not attacking you guys from a pedestal.
No.
I'm saying I'm in the trenches with you. Like I struggle. Like you don't think I want to leave Hard Eyes under a fucking Ethot's butt picture? Of course I do. Of
Just a
course
bunch
I
of guys
do.
in the
Like,
trenches
dude,
of World War
like,
One.
I'm saying we're in the. Listen,
Wait,
if I could stop one man from gooning, my whole show will be worth it.
I'm really confused. You said you want to leave Hard Eyes. I thought the whole point is you leave no trace when you're done.
That's what I'm saying. Is like it's easier for me now to kind of like say no to this because I've been saying no to it for a while, and I know that on the other side of it, you just become once you say no to simping and say no to porn for a while, you become just way more attractive to women. Like it changes your hormone balance. Like it actually has a physical impact on you. It has a mental impact on you. You start carrying yourself with a little more gumption. It's easier to get up early and go out and do the work you need to do to make yourself a better guy. Right? Like that, it changes everything once you change your mentality. And then you start to respect yourself and you walk a little taller, a little straighter. And women in real life are going to respond to that. You know, but that's like downstream of like making some of these like smaller choices in the short term. Like you got to choose not to do the easy thing in the short term. And you got to kind of sit in that feeling of loneliness and kind of channel it to fucking go after it and do the things you want to do in the real world. You know what I'm saying? Like that's actually what you have to do if you want to actually get the kind of, human connection that you actually want, and you actually want women to like and respect you and actually have options, then you have to kind of like do the work when you're a young guy. And that sucks when you're young and you're like in the trenches. Like fucking Arza, I don't know what to tell you. Dating's going to be easier when you're 28. Sorry.
Yeah,
that's just how it is.
I will get right on turning 20. I will get right on that.
Hurry up. Well, you can do the work to build. Sorry, does someone need to go?
Just real quick. So I wanted to ask this question earlier, but Theo, you kind of you just brought my whole point to life when you said that when you were younger, you bought a girl condoms so she could sleep with another guy.
Yes.
Simping is not new. It's just a new word and it has internet lore. Yeah. You have to realize when we're talking about this and this behavior, it is not just hard eyes, e-thoughts, super chats and donations you are doing things in the real world with real people that you may not realize, and you need to be aware of that. Everybody does, and everybody's been guilty of it. It's not just an internet phenomenon. There are men will simp for, that are fully friend zoned. There'll be an army of friend zoned guys that think, well, maybe I got a shot because they're being led on a very fucking thin hook by somebody and manipulated through life to be always just there in waiting for this one person who they have put on a fucking mental pedestal that does not deserve to be there. That's where you have to stop, look at your behavior in every way, online and in real life, and stop it. You have to think inward and look at yourself and know that you're doing this. I'm part of this problem. Are you one of an army of people that will rush to white knight to one person even when they fuck up and are doing something inappropriate? If you are, you're part of the problem. You need to look at all of your relationships with women and evaluate them and evaluate your fucking self. I'm done. Go ahead.
Yeah, there we go. This is.
Would you do that for anyone else? Would you treat another person this way? And
would you let a man get away with this?
Yeah. Would you? Because especially for people, and we mentioned, and it's for something like this, it's always the 6 degrees to Melanie Mac. But would those same people who are simping for Melanie Mac, would they be defending though whatever she's saying if it came out of someone else's mouth? If it came out of another woman's mouth? What if it came out of a man's mouth? What if all these people, out of which one does your behavior translate over? And it's very important for you to ask yourself, because especially I think it has roots in, because I used to be a huge simp in college because I was desperate for female attention. I know, right? But here's how I it may be how I coded it, or maybe just kind of where it came from. Because I tried very hard to be like a good man while I was trying to be a nice guy, because I didn't know the difference between a good man and a nice guy. Don't be a nice guy. Be an asshole. It's okay. Don't be mean, but don't be
Titan from Megamind.
No, and don't be a white knight.
Well, there's a difference.
Only stick up for somebody if they actually deserve your. If you have to be defensive of it, just like you would with If two of your friends are beefing and they're both fucking retards, call them both fucking retards.
And that's the thing. Okay, so there's a couple of things I want to call out in the chat that are just bangers. Rogue Nerd calling out. We've already been through the minefield. We're just calling it out. Every man is guilty of simping at one point or another. And this is very important because this is what women think when they see you simping. It's like, why would you waste time on women who don't respect you and use you for their own personal gain for just 5 minutes of attention when they're really doing this with all different men? Good women of quality lose, like all the women who watch this show. Shout out to the 4%. W's in the chat for the 4%. Women of quality lose respect for you when they see you falling for like ethot's tricks. And the thing is, if it's on the internet, if it's on your timeline, or even if they see you doing it socially, they're just like, they just roll their eyes and they're like, ugh, because they're like, they want a man with some discipline and some critical thinking abilities. And what they're seeing there is you are not only ruled by your dick, but you're desperate.
See, you're saying this, Theo, but I think you're just describing women who are just jealous.
Okay. Yeah, that's well, and here's and this is kind of like tying it in. The point I want to make is like this is not like it. Like simping is making your life worse, and it's making the world worse. Like it's making things harder for everyone.
Walter coming in.
Walter coming in hot. Hold on. What does Walter say? Oh, hold on. Let's see. Labeling things under the guise of simp is a way for incels to justify being incels. I don't know what he means by that. I don't know what he means. Somebody help me understand.
Wouldn't the simp be the incel?
I think I can. Probably.
Well, basically, when an incel sees a guy being really nice to a girl, even if it's justified, he's gonna call her a simp.
Yes, this is what I wanted to make. I actually want to make this point. This is important. I remember what I want to say now. This is really important, and then I'll kick it over to Strider because I can tell you got something you want to say. So I do think it's the duty, the dignity of every woman is the duty of every man. And what I mean by that is you have a duty to treat women with a certain degree of respect, regardless of how that individual woman is acting, right? But that's not about her and you getting something from her. That's about you and the kind of guy you want to be and the kind of world you want to live in. Okay, that's the difference. Simping is about getting something out of her, whether it's attention, time, focus, hard eye reply, whatever it is. You're trying to get something from her for you. But when it's about treating women with dignity, that's about you. I am this kind of guy. My behavior doesn't fall below this standard because of who I am. Right? And that applies to every woman, regardless of whether or not she deserves it. Because I think women should be treated with a certain degree of dignity, period. Regardless of whether or not the individual woman I'm dealing with is treating in a dignified manner. Like I've done this before. I've had confrontational arguments with feminists who clearly thought I was garbage and then offered to walk them to their car because we're in a rough part of town. Because I do that for every woman regardless. Because that's how women get treated when I'm around. Because that's about who I am. I don't want to ever see this woman again. That doesn't mean I want her to get kidnapped. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
are you doing something to get something back? Is it transactional, or are you doing it just to legitimately, selflessly provide for somebody else?
Because of the society you want to live in.
Yeah, I think Walter is kind of hitting at that red-pilled, very angry, very aggressive, like "fuck you, bitch," I'll shoot your mouth, that kind of behavior. You don't realize that those guys used to be simps, and then they got jaded and are angry. Yeah, those are just as bad. In fact, this whole thing is about preventing that from happening because those men are dangerous. And that is a bad mindset. So we're not talking about. I know you're on the other end of the spectrum, man. Just as bad, if not worse.
That's right.
So I guess here's the other question. So
this idea of incels, they no matter what they're doing, they're just as bad as the simps because simps they're going out of their way to give adoration, money, attention to somebody else, maybe expecting something back.
They don't realize that they're not respecting neither one of them are actually being respectful of the women. They're both treating them as objects.
But incels are just as bad because because their anger, their hatred, their their attitude of just despising other women, it's not for them. It's still it's still for other women. They're still letting other women let them be hateful. Let them
It's still
be angry.
insecurity on a massive scale.
I have a question for the third extreme. What about MGTOWs? Men going their own way. It's basically men who no longer have any interest in socializing with women. Usually they're either burnt out simps or burnt out incels or both. And they're just like, fucking, I'm not going to talk to a woman. I'm not going to have any sympathy for women. I'm not going to look at a woman and all that.
I think that's
okay,
dumb,
so this is what I'll say. I understand.
We just call that being an asshole.
Here's the thing. I understand where they're coming from. My problem with MGTOWs, so it used to be like I was into the manosphere, like 10, 15 years ago was when I first found it. So it's evolved a lot. Back then, MGTOW was something, it was guys who were over 40, who had been divorced, and who weren't going to get married again because it went badly for them. I understand that. My problem with MGTOWs is when you're over 40, you've been divorced, things didn't work out for you, and then you tell a guy who's 19, 20, 21 years old that he shouldn't even try with women because it didn't work out for you. Yeah. My problem is the way they choose to pay it forward is to tell young guys to not even try. I'm not on board with that. Like if it didn't work out for you, I totally get it, man. Do what you got to do. If you want to just like ride motorcycles in the Appalachian forest and that's what you want to do, go nuts, man. I respect it. But what you don't do is you don't tell a young guy not to even try and to just check out of society, because that young guy still got a chance to get it right. And you have if you were willing to do the critical self-reflection to actually grow from your bad experiences, you might actually have some wisdom to pass on to that young guy. And instead you're choosing to pass down cynicism. Remember, cynicism is fake wisdom. That's important.
Anybody given that advice just wasn't, they weren't doing it right. They're not good at being people. They're not good at being men.
Between inoculation and poison, because the cynicism of an older man, I can still certainly speak for this. Like people, especially because I just turned 35, we've got a little bit more to tell the 18, 19, 20, 22-year-olds, a little bit more of an inoculation against the destruction of the world that they're about to explore and about to inhabit. To tell maybe someone in college, hey, don't exhibit this behavior. Like, what are we encouraging to do? We're encouraging them to build themselves up to where they're immune to the inevitable corruption and destruction that the rest of the world is about to inflict upon them. But to say to someone like 18, 19, 20, 22, hey, by the way, women aren't shit. You're amazing, and women are useless. Women are pointless. Like that's wrong, because that's that's completely in direct opposition to life itself. All of us got here because our parents decided against that. All of our and in some form or fashion, all of our parents. That's how life gets perpetuated. We have to work together, men and women, to be able to live together. Eventually, maybe have kids and perpetuate the species. It can't happen any other way. And so if we try to tell both men and women, hey, the opposite sex ain't shit, don't even bother with them, well, that's just completely anti-life, because your bloodline ends with you. And it's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. Like, my ancestors lived and died. I mean, I kind of am. You think about it. My ancestors lived and died from the beginning of time immemorial to now. Wars were fought, diseases. I don't even know my whole family history. But somewhere down the line, I was lucky enough to survive in this day and age. My ancestors were lucky enough to survive to give birth to me. In a way, you do have a responsibility to carry that on. And eventually, I don't know. It's just kind of an existential thing I'm wrestling with, because I have every reason to say women ain't shit. I'm not going to do that anymore. But like, I do kind of because that's not something I'm kind of realizing that. For a while, I didn't want kids. I was completely like, nah, whatever. But I realized I was with the wrong person who I didn't think would be a good mother, and I didn't want to have kids with. Luckily, that went away. But like now, I'm 35. I'm not too old to have kids. I'm certainly old enough to seek out maybe a younger woman that could provide me with a big family that I would like, so that I can carry on my bloodline, and they can carry it on. It's one more generation. It's not a bad thing. It's innate in all of us to procreate and to have a connection with the opposite sex. That's how we're built. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing we can still inoculate ourselves against some of the bad behaviors that we learn from society or from our environment, from us, but we can't be black-pilled. We can't say women ain't shit, men ain't shit. We can't have that attitude because that's completely anti-life. It doesn't work that way. Animals don't do
That's
that.
right. That's right. And this is, go ahead, Iron.
I was just gonna say that whole no, fuck women, women are shit. That behavior is just as bad as the simping. Like I said before, what you need to do is just don't devalue yourself to resort to nothing but simping and being part of, that culture, and hold women to just as high of a standard as you need to hold yourself at.
By the way, speaking of women who are excellent and wonderful, shout out to Sherry. I think the whole 4% is tuned in right now. I think all 4% of my female fans are here. Thanks, guys. Shout out to the 4%. W's in the chat for the 4%. The awesome, sexy, amazing women who watch this show.
Eggs is drying up, Strida.
Yeah, get on it, man. No, and that's the point. This is what I mean when I say the gender war is a psyop. I think I call wokeness an anti-human death cult because that is anti-life and just wants to destroy human existence. And I don't think that here's the thing, like, I don't have time to get into that now, but if you actually look into it, like, that's actually what it is. Like, it's very clearly like an anti-human cult.
Promiscuity, abortion, they're against the nuclear family. It's all right there. That's all you need to know about it.
Yeah. It's like, and here's the thing. If you understand history and you look at like cycles of civilizations, you know that those are the things that actually will just destroy a society faster than anything else. If you undermine the family and you undermine men and women's ability to get along and unite to create a safe environment to raise children in, that will just undo your entire society. All of it. Like, all your social structures depend on that to work. And I think that's the No, and that's the idea of like, you hear a lot of people talking about this, but society works really well. Here's the thing. Men don't really grow up until you put them in charge of something. Yeah. That's the reality. And honestly, a lot of women don't grow up unless they've got something to take care of, And so men and women, what we got to do is if we pair up and we have our own little corner of the world, you make your own little corner of the world, your little apartment, whatever it is, your little garden, your little house, your little apartment, your little family, you make that heaven. Okay. And if everybody is making their little corner of the world heaven, then the world's going to look a lot better. But here's the thing. If everybody's just like cheating on everybody and nobody's having kids and nobody gives a fuck and it's just do whatever you want and whatever feels good in the moment, then your whole society is going to go to shit because no one's going to be planning for the future. You know, that's the way it is. And so this is what I mean when I say that, like, this whole gender war is a psyop to destroy life. Because if men and women don't get along, like, what the fuck is we don't have a future. Humans go away if that happens. What the fuck do you mean, like, don't have kids and just, like, buy cool shit and, like, die alone? What the fuck do you mean? What kind of fucking, like, cucked advice is that? For men or women, that's dumb.
There certainly are people who that should be the case because, goddamn it, they should not recreate. But you think about, especially feminism now, it used to be an equality movement, but then the past, 10, 50, maybe 2 generations, if that, it is a supremacy movement now. But think about it, what better way to get men pissed off at you than to say, I'm just as good as you, I can do everything you can do, when everybody knows that's not the case. What better way to engender conflict between the sexes is to support and build up this entire population of women and make them believe that they are just as good as men, just as capable as men, that we are equal in every single way. Every man worth his salt is gonna be like, fuck no, you're not gonna work. You're not gonna be a pilot. You're not gonna work on a.
This is what's interesting.
It's conflict.
Yes.
That's what it's supposed to do.
Well, okay. Do you guys?
New wave feminism is.
Well, do you guys remember this happened very recently? So I hope you saw it. I know we talked about it in the group chat. Do you guys remember when Taylor Swift got booed at the Super Bowl?
Yep.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so I think here's the thing. I've noticed a trend. I've talked to a lot of women about this. I talked to Selena about this a little bit. I've talked to other women too. A lot of women are kind of turning on Taylor Swift. And I think what's happening is she's like a symbol of this girl boss, out of touch, egotistical feminism. And I think what women are saying right now is they're saying to the feminists, you said I could have whatever job I wanted. I could sleep with hot men. I could have a ton of money. I could buy a bunch of shoes, and then I could get married whenever I wanted and have as many kids as I wanted. Now I hate my job. I don't have enough money. I don't have kids, and all the men hate us, and it's all your fault. I think that's actually what women are feeling right now. And I think Taylor Swift getting booed like that, a lot of I expect football fans to be fed up with seeing Taylor Swift, but I think that was coming from a different place, because what I'm feeling is a lot of women are sick to shit of this because they are just tired of it, but they feel like they can't speak up. And what did we talk about earlier? Obnoxious chicks are outnumbered by cool chicks 3-1, but the obnoxious chicks are the loudest, and it's really hard for women to shut them up. That behavior here, women don't have the confrontation tools to police that behavior. They just kind of exclude those women. But the problem is those women get excluded, so they go into their little echo chambers, right, where their behavior is never challenged, and they just validate each other, so they get worse and worse and louder and louder. And as men, what do we see? Right? We turn on the Whores Say Dumb Things podcast, right? And we see the worst women imaginable saying just like horrible things, and we think that's representative of the norm. Right? And I'm telling you, dude, it's not. But the thing is, we have to set the standard. We are enabling that behavior when we leave the hard eyes comments, when we subscribe to the OnlyFans, right? And when we put up with it, we put up with being disrespected in public. We are enabling this behavior to continue because we're not setting high standards, because we're not respecting ourselves.
Dude,
Exactly.
Read Drunken's comment. That's an actual story that happened.
And I'm not saying you got to
No,
like
I
go.
left a comment actually on her.
Oh, really?
Like he deserves better than you, bitch. I was so happy with it.
Yeah.
That there's actually a bitch out there that filed for divorce.
Okay, do we
because
know
her
if that video
husband
was
booed
real
Taylor
or a
Swift.
joke?
So
'Cause it looked like a
I
joke.
don't think so.
This is real. Again, 4% is chiming in again, confirming what I just said. Hell yeah. Shout out to the 4%. Love to see that.
Yeah. We also have to
Right,
be
and right
very
now,
careful.
one of the loudest, most influential women is a 35-year-old still promoting behavior like you're still in high school to
That's
other
crazy to me.
35-year-old
Yeah,
women.
That's
Never
crazy
matured.
to me,
She's
right?
never matured.
It's mean girl energy, you guys. Watch out for the mean girls, okay?
Yeah.
Like, you may not see it,
They're
we
everywhere.
do. Girls
Yeah,
see it
that's
all the
why.
time.
This is what I'm saying. This is why you need a woman, is because like you don't understand the amount of, because here's the thing. We talk a lot about how men protect women from social threats, and how a man with a woman is a woman who has a man with her is less likely to get attacked and all this stuff, right? We don't talk enough about how women protect men from social threats, because we don't see social threats like that girl at work who wants to fuck you that you think is just nice and really interested in everything you're interested in for some reason. Your wife is going to know that's a problem. Right? She's going to see that girl's crazy and she's after you. You got to watch yourself around her. Right? But you're not going to see that. You think she's just being nice because you're dumb. But women see that stuff, right? And women actually protect you. Like, that's actually such a critical tool for, because if you're a man and you're going to get any kind of power, any kind of influence, you're going to have women who are interested in taking a piece of that for themselves. You need a woman. Like, I've already got, like, I don't have much going for myself. I have a little bit of notoriety in my region, but not much. I've already gotten to the point where I've decided one night stands aren't worth it anymore. You know, because like if that goes wrong, she can say something happened that didn't happen. Boom, there goes everything I've built just in the shitter. Right? You know, it would be really helpful for screening that out.
could
A
happen
fucking
years
wife.
later.
You know, right? A fucking wife to have just the value of a second set of eyeballs to go over stuff. Like, Iron, how many ideas have you had where you're like, hey, Selena, what do you think about this? And you get a meaningful piece of feedback that completes the picture for you. How many times does that happen to you?
Daily.
There you
So
go.
I just want to point out that your
There you go.
solution to the
Minutely.
single man's problem is to get married. Thank
Yes!
you, Theo, for your insightful stuff.
Right. And it's like, but also the other piece I
Nuts.
want to focus on, because I know that this sounds a little like Daily Wiry right now, and that people get very frustrated with them because it's just like, suck it up and get married. And you're like, to these fat whores, what are you talking about? And it's like, I get it.
Way too unstable for
Hold
that.
yourself.
I get
to
it.
a high
I get
standard
it.
and
I
expect
get what
a
you're
high
saying.
standard
I get
person,
what you're
you'll
saying.
get it.
No, I get what you're saying. But what the thing I want to zoom in on here is the cool chicks outnumber the obnoxious ones 3-1. The obnoxious ones are just the loudest. Like, I'm telling you. And here's the thing. If you are doing what you guys are doing, which is what you got to do, You got to figure out a way to get in front of people, to maximize the amount of people you're meeting. What you, Arza, and Nate are doing right now is the right thing, right? Get in front of a lot of people. That's going to give you the opportunity to meet people that are filtered by interest. And some of those people that are interested in what you're doing are going to want to blow you.
Here too.
And Strider's here too. Right, sorry. Strider, I'm including Strider.
You don't count gingers, sorry.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'm focusing on because I feel like Gen Z is more black pilled. When I talk to you, I feel like you still have hope. When I talk to these guys, it's just like, Jesus Christ, I got to do something, man.
Hey, Theo, I have plenty of hope. One day I'll die, and that is all the hope I need.
But you got a lot of time in between now and then. What you gonna do?
Not necessarily.
Here's the thing. No, and here's the thing. The reason I joke with Arza and Nate a lot, but one of the reasons I have you guys on the show is because my analytics tell me you guys are very representative of who actually listens to this show. You know, like there's a lot of like here's the thing. That's one of the reasons I had a guest on a recent episode who is saying that like video games turn you into a sex pest and that like men are cowards if they don't approach women and all this stuff. And I should have pushed back more on that at the time than I did.
Why did you have me on that episode? What the fuck?
What? Well, that's the thing. And so kind of what I guess what I have to say.
It'd be a good idea to have all women in him.
That's okay. You know what?
So because
he didn't have a parachute. He didn't have a backup plan.
No, and fucking BS Warren. I love BS Warren, but he's a fucking coward. And so he just like shivered in the corner, an abused puppy, just like a shelter dog. And I'm just in there, fucking in the lion pit by myself. But the point
in the
I'm
trenches,
making,
man. You're back at the forward operating
but
base.
this one. When you say that video games make you a sex pest or that like young men who aren't approaching women are cowards, what you're doing is you're not attacking BS Ward. You're not attacking me. You're attacking the audience now. Because the guys who watch my show play video games and the guys who watch my show probably haven't approached a girl in a while. That's why they're watching the show. They're trying to get answers to some of these questions, right? So, like, don't fucking attack the audience. Yeah. It's like it actually. I want to. Well, everything I'm saying,
it's also shifting all of the blame on men and men's behavior. Well,
and that's what I'm saying.
Fault. It's all your
what I'm
fault.
saying is like here's the thing.
Else.
Yeah, and I want to. Everything I say comes with this huge caveat that life does suck for young men right now. It really does, but you can't change that. So it is still your responsibility. It is still your responsibility to play the cards you've been dealt. And what I'm saying is, like, life does suck, but also still play the game. Mm-hmm. Life, it is going to be hard and shitty, and there's no way around it. Do it anyway. That's my point. You know, that's my.
You know, there's one thing I constantly mention that a lot of these women who are very critical of the men who aren't asking women out seem to forget.
Yeah.
The pool of women who are worth asking out for the average guy is quite small at the moment, and they're very hard to find because they're not out in public. They're not at bars. At best, you might find them at churches, and half the time, they're already in a relationship.
Well, yeah, and so what I would say to that, Arza, I thought about that problem a lot because you're not wrong. Because it's like, okay, it's easy for me to sit here and say cool chicks outnumber obnoxious chicks 3-1, but the cool ones are all quiet. How do you know which ones are cool and which ones are not? I see what you're saying. A great way to do that is literally what you guys are doing, where you're building up an online following, because that's going to maximize. You're going to be able to spread a wide net and like meet people online that are sorted by interest. You know, that's not the same thing as going on a dating app. Right? That's not the same thing as just shooting your shot in person. Like you're actually like broadening your reach tremendously by just, like I said, and it's not necessarily even requires to be online. Find ways to get in front of a lot of people and get a lot of attention for something positive. And this can take a lot of different shapes. Sometimes that might mean maybe if you do karaoke, even if you do it badly, but you do it confidently, you can get in front of a lot of people. Mm-hmm. You know, like I do it with stand up, but you could do it if you're a person at church and you want to just be active doing something that's important to you that people are going to notice. Right. And that will give them the opportunity to kind of, because here's the thing. One thing we've forgotten is we've got away from the handkerchief drop. Do you guys know what I'm talking about when I talk about the handkerchief drop?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I'll add some context.
Really?
So this is like a Victorian era social ritual. You guys seen Bridgerton? Okay, so picture Bridgerton people, right? Okay, what happens is men don't just like pick which girls to hit on. They think they do, but what happens is a girl sees a guy who's got his shit together and she drops her handkerchief clumsily but intentionally, and that man's like, "Oh, excuse me, miss, you dropped her handkerchief. Now he's got a reason to talk to her. And she could be like, oh, you're so chivalrous and you've been so helpful. Men love being helpful. We love, and now we feel good. We're like, I am helpful. Thank you for noticing. Now all of a sudden you guys have a reason to talk to each other. And the reason that's brilliant is the woman gets the man she wants. The man gets to think that it was his idea to hit on her, which we love to think everything was our idea, right? But really the woman gets hit on by a guy she likes. The man has a 100% shot of it going well. So, because if you're just picking girls at random, your chances of rejection are like 8 in 10, basically. And that's if you're hot. Right? It's like probably 11 times out of 10, you're going to get rejected if you're just picking girls at random. Right? But if you're picking a girl who dropped her handkerchief, excuse me, miss, dropped her handkerchief there. Now, you know, you're talking to a girl who's interested because that's why she initiated the ritual. But part of the problem is one of the reasons you've got girls who are like, why don't men approach women anymore? It's because y'all ain't dropping handkerchiefs anymore. Yeah. We have forgotten the steps to the dance. People don't know how to interact.
Don't acknowledge the dance anymore.
They don't.
Well, that's where I think
because the powers that be took the dance and set it on fire.
Well, yeah, which crazy. I met a comedian who's 59, and I was explaining to him it's easier for me to get a girl to send me a picture of her tits than it is to get a girl to go on a coffee date with me. And he was like, "How could that possibly be true?"
Because coffee's gross.
And it's like, well, no, but it's like, here's the thing. It is so, because everybody's like doing, it's like, if you see Demolition Man where they like fuck through these like helmets, these like, you know what I mean? They put on these helmets, they go and they have sex through VR. That's kind of what we're doing with the phones. Like it is, girls will be absolutely filthy over the phone. And
you haven't watched it, have you, Arza?
Well,
no.
You think about it, there's a disconnection there. It's so easy for your mind to say, this isn't me, this is somebody else doing it. And so even though it may be a woman, even though it may be your body, their body, her body, whatever, there's still there's a film there of unreality. So it's easier to put yourself in a position like, let me take a nude selfie and let me send it to a stranger.
Yeah. And so
the odds of me meeting that person are going to be very minimal, but there's no consequence in that. You used to be.
Yeah, it's so weird how we've got this like weird disembodied like cyber fucking thing. And then you see the girl in person and she's just like embarrassed to look at you. Like somehow it's more intimate to have like a 1 hour like conversation over a cup of coffee than it is to like show me a zoomed in photo of your areola. Yeah, I don't understand. Like, bro, how do I know what your meat flaps look like and I don't know your middle name? Why is that where we're at as a society? How is that fucking less vulnerable? What's crazy, it's like not even like, I don't want to get too into the, but the point is like, dude, like this is bananas to me. This does not make sense. Like how, like I swear to God, I just want to talk to these bitches and all they want to do is suck my dick. It's like, please, can I just talk to you? Can you use your mouth for something else? I just want to get to know you. Is that crazy? Am I crazy?
Selena's dying. I wonder what just happened.
God
damn,
I've never heard a man say that before, Theo.
I'm so bro.
I saw him walk behind you. I'm assuming he was commentating and.
No, he was cracking up, and so I was cracking up.
I met a girl. Bro, I met this girl after a comedy show one time, and she was just like, she was kind of like gassing me up and telling me I look like Hercules and all this shit. And I was just kind of basking in the attention a little bit. And then she's like, just so you know, there's pineapple juice in my drink. Here, you should have some so that your cum tastes better, for later. Yeah.
Did you say
that? And so,
see, I knew that's where she was going, but she was that blatant? She had no nuances. No nuance.
Man, that bitch was starving.
That's what I'm saying.
That's so unattractive. Like,
that's what I'm saying, dude. That's what I'm saying, dude. Like, I'm telling you, dude, this is what it's up against. This is, by the way, this is how I know. Here's the thing. This is what is really fucked it up for me is this is fucked up effort. Because here's the thing. I know if I have to actually try to get a girl to get with me, there's some guy somewhere in her past that didn't have to try at all. So I'm just not that dude for her. Like she just doesn't like me enough if I have to try.
She just gave that guy the pineapple juice, and he was like, "All right, babe,
Yes, dude.
That's how you get
Yes,
drugged.
dude.
Well,
Probably.
because men are completely taken aback with the direct approach, because we are not used to that. We are not used to being.
You guys think that's
we're not
hot?
used to being
I'm just
complimented.
curious. There's like room.
I
full of
did.
guys
I'll say
here.
okay.
No, I'll
It's
be honest.
hot if
I will
it's
say.
someone that it's hot if it's someone that you're into, someone that you love.
No,
Wait, one
here's
more
the-
time.
not
One
even-
more
not
time.
Not even that. Like, if somebody came up to me and said something like that, I would just be uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah.
what? Why? Like, I just met you. Why? Like, we're going from 1 to 100 real fucking fast here. Like, what is happening?
Well,
Well,
anybody
speaking from experience, in
gonna go in a
sometimes that kind of expediency can be useful in a committed relationship, because sometimes you just don't want to do the dance, and sometimes there are times when you'd rather.
That's a
sometimes
completely different
you
thing if you're in a relationship. That's just called dirty talk.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
You're in a
Exactly.
committed relationship. That's
Exactly.
totally different.
In the context of a
because
relationship,
it says
it's
that
great.
here's how crazy I can. There's still some spice there. Like there's spice in a relationship,
No.
and I'm willing to do something as blatant and say there's pineapple juice in my
I mean, if
drink.
she's going-
It'll make
That's
your-
one
going-
thing.
No.
To have a stranger do that, it's like,
No, well, here's the thing. Most of the women who say gross stuff to me are literal strangers. And and for me, it's like when I was younger and I had lower self-esteem and I was using sex to validate, because what I would do is I would use the sex for the validation, and then I would get a second dose of validation because I go out and brag to my friends about the sex I had. And I would try to tell all my male friends and I'd score points, and I'd like tell my female friends and gross them out and score points. And when I had low self-esteem, right, like that was really important to me, and I used that as like to sort of bolster me and like make me feel okay. But now that I'm secure in myself and I look at women as human beings, when a woman is saying that to me, what I hear is, help me, my dad abandoned me, no one loves me, I'm desperate for love and validation and affection, I'm desperately attracted to you and I don't know how to make you reciprocate that. Please, 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 please love me. In fact, don't even love me. I'll settle for swallowing your spooge because that's the closest to love I think I can realistically get from you. That makes me sad.
Hey, Theo.
That bums
Theo.
me out.
Theo,
Yeah,
I got a
there's
question.
something
The
to
girls trying
remember.
too hard. You know, some girls try too hard, just like some guys try too hard.
Yes.
well, something
I got-
else you got to keep in mind with someone like that. Eventually she is going to come to her senses. Eventually she is going to realize that, holy shit,
Yeah.
I've been sold a false bill of goods. And eventually you are going to be that person in her mind that used and abused her whenever she didn't know any better. So eventually, and whether or not you see her again is irrelevant. You are going to exist in her mind forever as someone who was someone who was willing to use her in that manner. So it's something to keep in mind.
Or some girls are just complete skanks, you guys. Like they're
Correct.
just awful.
Correct.
See, I don't believe you. Can
You
you
gotta
send me
watch
some
out
examples?
because it's not always the blatant "I want you to drink pineapple juice" comment. Sometimes it's much more subtle. Be on the
Yeah.
lookout for those subtle because they're trying to manipulate you with what they're
Your shoe size.
use the tools
Dude.
they have at hand to get what they want. It can be like, oh, hold on, I'm just changing my bra. Let me take off these pantyhose or this or that, or I'm
Or
about to go swimming.
hey,
One
fellas,
minute,
I've got
that-
one. I've got one. Has a
going
girl
off,
ever
that kind of
texted?
bullshit.
Has a girl ever texted you, "Hey, I'm about to hop in the shower"?
Yeah,
Or,
right,
"Hey,
that
I
kinda
just
shit.
got out of the shower." Has that ever happened? Guess what? She wants you to picture her naked. That's why she did
This.
that.
That's all it is.
That is
This.
what that was for.
Hey, Theo, got a question.
Told that.
Yeah.
Girls that call you daddy out of nowhere, is that a red flag?
Yes.
No, well, hold on.
Okay, let's go.
I love how Iron's like, yes, it feels like
Moment for rebuttal.
Iron
Well,
let's just say, for example, let's say you met a girl, you've talked to her for maybe like a day or two, and then all of a sudden she just calls you daddy.
well, if she's not calling me daddy by the second day, I view that as a red flag.
Well, that's what you just tell her, Nate. You tell her, Nate, yep, you're damn right I'm daddy, and just like him, I'll leave you in 3 weeks.
Hey, yo. Oh,
Here's the
Just so you
fucking
know,
milk.
if I ever
I'm
start
done.
smoking, I'm gonna go out
is
for
this
cigarettes.
a problem you're having?
No, I'm just curious.
It's a friend.
No, it's the problem that his friends have it.
I don't know.
No, this may or may not have happened a couple of years ago, and if I had recognized the signs then, I probably could have saved myself a lot of grief.
Yeah,
Yes,
look.
it was a sign.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. It's hard. And also, one of the problems is that social skills have really eroded in general. Like, this ties back to what we were saying earlier. People have forgotten the dance. Like, that girl who's like, drink pineapple juice so I can swallow your jizz. She doesn't know how to make men like her. She doesn't know because she couldn't do it with her dad, right? So she knows men like sex. So she's going with that because that's what she knows.
Mm-hmm.
Men like sex, so I can get, but she's not trying to get short-term attention. She's trying to turn short-term attention into long-term attention. She doesn't know that dog don't hunt, right? That's not how the game go, but she doesn't know that. She has no idea how to get the kind of relationship from a man that she wants. So that's her best. You got to understand, people are doing their best. You know, everybody wants stable, healthy, solid relationships, regardless of what they may profess, regardless of whether they're consciously aware of it. Everybody wants stability and love and wholesomeness in their life. People want that, whether they know it or not. But they have no idea how to get it. So it's possible. Now, here's the thing. There are a lot of women who are like red flags out there. I'll give it to you. But it's also possible you're dealing with a woman who wants to do right by you and has no idea how. And it's kind of up to you how much patience you want to have with that. You know, I do think we got to have a little bit of patience and a little bit of grace for each other right now, because this whole like social retardation is hitting everybody, you know? And let's see what Walter has to say about context matters. Calling you daddy in public and calling you daddy in bed aren't the same thing. I bet everybody will say wild shit. I disagree. I think I want to be called daddy at the CVS. I want to, if we're in line at Walmart, I want you to be calling me. It's like, daddy.
See, but here's the thing. You have to do it in an age gap where you could be her daddy, though.
Yeah, no problem.
So the person's confused what role you play.
That's, dude, for real. That's, I don't know. I don't know.
Up in her mouth a little bit.
I could tell.
She was only like a year younger than me. It was weird. I didn't like it. Like when she did it, when she did it the first time, I'm kind of like, I was like, what did you say?
Can we get it?
I've never been into that. Call me anything. Don't call me that. That just shows like you must have issues related to that. And I don't want no
that's
part of
true.
that.
That's kind of how I read it when she did it. I'm like, is your dad not around?
red
Like, because at that point I hadn't met her parents yet. I'm like,
Now,
so
was
is
he
your dad not
abusive or
around?
did he just die young?
Parents plural or parent single?
Right.
Oh shit.
Oh man.
I'm just saying Freud would love this day and age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we might have to do a whole other episode on daddy issues. Next week on Touchgrass with Theo Snodgrass, we're covering daddy issues. Good thing or great thing?
It's not great.
Not great. No,
not good. Fathers are important.
Children need their fathers.
It's weird. I will say stuff like that, and every once in a while I'll be like, fathers are important. Don't abandon your children, right? And they'll say stuff like that, and people are like, well, why can't both parents be important? As if there isn't a specific pattern of behavior that goes with fatherlessness.
That's
that
because
we all know and
That's
we all
because-
recognize.
Well, the thing is, kids, interestingly enough, the data actually backs this up. Kids do better in a single father household than they do a single mother household. I find that very interesting.
No, I will say, I think that there might be some things being conflated there. For instance, a single father household has to work a lot harder to validate being able to keep and stay the single father.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Gull's comment. First, she's like, I defended your audience for the video game playing, which she did. She was on the panel. She's one of the cool chicks. Second, a woman you just met says drink final chooses low IQ. Run away. You got to drink that for a minute, a month, for 1 month minimum daily to affect taste.
We're talking from experience, are we?
This is my favorite comment I've ever received. I'm going to get this framed.
Print it out and
we
frame it on
get
his
this.
wall.
I'm going to put this on the quote board. This is amazing.
Your audience is going to Amazon and mass buying like a month supply of pineapple.
Use code Theo for a 10% discount on pineapple.
Hey, Nate, how about you test it out and let us know?
We might have to do some field
I keep
research
pineapple
on this
juice because
one.
it makes a good mixer for rum drinks for whenever I make my girly
that's
my
why.
girly fruit drinks in the summer and put an
Hey,
umbrella in it because I can.
Don't tempt me with a good time.
I know, right? 'Cause they're a good way to get real drunk real fast. You don't even recognize you're drinking alcohol. It's like, oh, this is just pineapple juice. Oh no.
Oh,
Oh,
Lord.
real
the
quick to
truth is not
like
careful.
Theo, how you'll get called out for saying dads are important. Right now, that it's because society has anytime you say something like that, they assume that you're automatically discrediting women in some way.
Yeah.
What are you
Yeah,
saying?
which is
Mothers
odd,
aren't important?
right?
Fuck no, I didn't
It's
say
almost like
that
you're
at
saying
all.
there's such a thing as a toxic femininity mindset.
Yeah.
Right. Like anytime you say men are important in XX way,
Right.
usually referring to
Yeah.
parents or fathers, then they're automatically assuming that that's an attack
Right.
on women, motherhood,
Also-
etc.
Follow the trend.
that's
The
not the
women who get
case.
offended, what do they also seem to be lacking?
Yeah.
So by insinuating that you need a father in the household, a lot of times these women are either single mothers or they're daughters of single mothers, and they're getting offended because somehow that it seems like a personal attack on them and their identity.
Well, you got to understand. Another thing to remember is when women are lashing out at you, they're not mad at you. They're like mad at their dad or they're mad at reality. They like reality is not conforming to their emotions and they don't know how to fix that. So they're lashing out. Okay. It's not about you. You got to depersonalize it too. That's actually important. It's actually not about you. She's dealing with all kinds of like internal turmoil that is there because her dad abandoned her or whatever negative shit happened with men that caused that wound. That's not even really about you, bro. And if you can depersonalize it, it's a lot easier to just like let that shit roll off your back, you know?
I think it's never about you because even if it is about you, it's still not even about reality. It's about her perception of you or what you said or what you meant or what you or insert whatever reason here. It's still about her perception of it because she could read into something that you said and immediately assume meaning behind it based on her history or maybe your history or something else. But she doesn't actually know the real you. So even if it is about you, it's still never about you. Well, actually, I think Theo, you mentioned feminism kind of being a psyop. What's so interesting, I think feminism has also led women to believe that if something is pro men, it's anti women, but it's never the other way around. If it's pro women, it's never anti men. But actually no, they've couched it to where it's pro. It has to be anti men in order to be pro woman, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
Because how many times? Because sometimes I'll read the comments on like people from Roma Army or Emily King or The Dadvocate, people who actually post real pro men content. They're not anti women. They're just saying this is some. If you could argue one of them, Roma is definitely anti women, but it's anti toxic women. It's anti bad behavior because all she asks is flip the sexes and see if this still works. It doesn't. It never does, and she chooses her targets very wisely. But every single time, there is some dipshit in there, usually a man, a high school man, by the way, because they'll put their I tend to take them seriously. They'll put their age in their profiles and they'll say it's like 13, 16, 18, 19 or whatever, and they're kids. But it's usually edgy kawaii goth girls in high school who are calling these people pick-me's and saying, why are you posting all this anti-women content? Why don't you have anything to say about men? It's like, maybe because the entire society at large has everything to say about men, but the minute one woman with a rather small platform dares to say anything against women, the simps come out of the woodwork, and the weird hyper feminists come out of the woodwork and say, well, you're being anti-women because you're being pro-men. That's not the case at all. And we need to be very careful that as a society, we need to recognize that trend in society because I don't think anyone here really ever believes that. I don't think anyone actually believes that. You can be
this is important. So this is important. Actually, it's a prerequisite actually, and I'm going to explain. I can prove it mathematically. I think a lot of the gender politics right now is operating under the assumption that it's a zero-sum game, meaning a win for women is a loss for men and vice versa. Yep. But actually, in order for life to be livable, men and women have to be doing well. If men are doing well, that's good for women. If women are doing well, that's good for men. right? And right now, men and women are both extremely unhappy, and we're kind of taking it out on each other, right? Like, it's actually good for, if men are doing really well in society, that's actually good for women, because then they have good partners to choose from, you know? Like, if women are happy and well-adjusted and get along with men, right? That's good for men. Right. And the idea of like looking at it as a zero sum game with like politics, first of all, it's like a fundamentally Marxist perspective.
Exactly.
You have to look at it. And that sets up this opposite. And that just doesn't work, because if men and women don't get along, right, then we don't have a society. Nobody has any babies, and then we all die. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's important. It's important. But I think if women are being trained to look at men as oppressors. And then what's crazy is that the red pill is kind of like the mirror of feminism in a lot of ways. And it teaches men to look at women as, the enemy who's like victimizing them, And so you've got a bunch of people who are obsessed with their own victim narrative, and lashing out at strangers to kind of like justify their own unhappiness. And that's actually just like not like the whole society is going to function better if everyone's doing well, guys. And that's not even controversial. That's like a fucking like normal thing if you think about it for 2 seconds, right? Let's be adults. Panel.
No, 100%. You definitely hit it with the
don't look for
calling out the men who are just as like victimized and playing the oppression Olympics game. But no, if it weren't for all these women doing this, I wouldn't remember. It's the same thing. You're part of the problem. They're part of the problem. It's that social construct that just needs to be removed. That it was artificially in place to begin with. Yeah, it was installed, and a lot of it you did call out very Marxist.
Marxism, at the end of the day, the only reason it survives is by creating conflict. It creates unwinnable conflict.
Well, because the whole theory wouldn't exist if it weren't for victimhood and oppression.
Yep. Marxism cannot exist on its own. There always has to fight against something, because every single time every single time any kind of Marxist government has arisen, there's always been something it has to fight. Because at its core, it is a philosophy of jealousy and of envy and covetousness, and taking from somebody who seems to be more empowered or better off than me, and giving it to someone who, quote, deserves it, which is myself. And
I mean, you look at the new wave feminist, modern feminist movement. It is all based. What is the political leaning with that whole movement? Exactly.
Yep.
And remember, it's like when people say the future is female, it's just weird. It's like, I think like feminists like trade women. What they do is they point to like the top 10% of most successful men, and they're like, hey, look at those guys. Why isn't your life like that? And they're like, yeah, men have it easy. But what they don't realize is that, one, those guys' lives suck because their life is all work all the time, right? But a lot of women, because of the way, especially if you're hot, you can just kind of float through life and people will give you things, right? And that starts early. You got all the DEI fucking shit for women. And so a lot of women, they look at the men who are really successful and they assume that he just kind of floated through life and everyone gave him shit. And they're like, why can't I have shit? And so it's sort of like a transfer of like scholarships and promotions and quotas and women in STEM and women pilots, which I just did a bit about this to a silent room recently.
Oh, good.
Where it's like, how many more? Dude, what do you want me to do? They keep crashing planes. You want me to not point it out?
We've been talking about how bad they were driving cars for so long. Why did we think it was a good idea to put them in charge of planes?
Anyway, the point is like,
let's increase the vehicle, remove add none of the talent, none of the skill, and we can't be surprised that bad things happen.
Well, see, here's the crazy thing, right? So women, when they drive cars, they're constantly hitting curbs. Somehow, when women drive planes, they're still hitting curbs.
Well, this time with a higher body count.
But this is what I'm saying. Like I think it's just like feminists have created this like delusional reality. And the other thing too is that most men's lives are not like that. Like a lot of women couldn't handle being an average dude because that would mean no one would pay attention to them and no one cares at all whether you're suffering.
One of them goes trans.
You know,
that's literally true because that one woman dressed up, rather masculine woman dressed up as a man lived that way for 9 months, and then 3 months later killed herself.
Yeah,
this would handle it.
I think they underestimate the fact that we are just simple creatures.
Well, and here's the thing:
men are pretty cool and pretty friendly, and like they'll accept you even if they don't. Because they were like, we noticed something was off with you, but we accepted you anyway because we thought you were cool. Yeah, you're bullying with us. All right, sure. Just like they're not the enemy. They don't talk about us about women near as much as we think they do. They don't have an enmity towards women as much as we have been led to believe that they do. And there are a bunch of just blue collar guys who are the stereotype of anti women sentiments, but this feminist realized that that's not the case, and it kind of realized that he'd been sold a false bill of goods. And I wish that study would have gone way more viral than it has, and I wish that would be passed around to everybody because again, she couldn't handle the reality of living as a man for 9 months and ended her life because of it. And it's like, how sad is that?
Well, go ahead.
It'll never go public because it'll be sexist.
Exactly. I mean, it's already out there. It's already public. It's already out there. I literally did a presentation on this, and my professor didn't like it, so she gave me a C. Whatever. Screw her. But it's something that's already present.
Well, I think it's like a lot of women don't understand that like to be and you see this like you gotta I don't know why this happens. I saw this, you'll see this periodically, like a decent looking girl will like transition and become just an unfortunate looking man. Like she'll go from being like she'll go from being like a 6 to looking like George Costanza. And it's like it's terrible. And it's like who told women that a decent looking girl has a worse, less privileged life than a short, ugly, bald man?
Well, because you think they're not short, ugly, bald men. They're still women, and they're still treated as such. Yeah. They're treated as women with even softer kitty gloves. That's the thing.
They're given even more validation, attention, and limit, kind of like that Family Guy clip, the meme, you know, like where Quagmire's dad's sitting at the bar and the bartender goes up like, "I'm sorry, ma'am, no porn at the bar," because he's on his phone. He goes, "It's okay, I'm trans." "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. Please continue doing whatever you want."
Yeah. And the thing, you can be the most mediocre trans person, you're still getting gassed up as the most bravest ever. But there's the thing, I mean, for this entire discussion about feminism, there's something that I only know like the most baseline understanding of it, and barely even that. So I'm going to get a lot of things wrong here. But there's a concept known as Gnosticism, which is basically a religious worldview where you replace God with something else, some spiritual entity. In this case, it's feminism as your religion. And it actively calls for the denial of the physical world. The physical world is evil, inherently. And to a feminist, the real world is evil because it disaffirms all of their core tenets and beliefs.
Very based. I didn't know we were going to discuss Gnosticism today, Arza. This is getting incredibly based.
Something you said made me think of it, and I had to Google it to make sure I got the word right, because I barely know anything about it except for what I just said.
Well, you're correct. Yeah. A lot of that philosophy is even bled into, and this is a whole other conversation. A lot of that philosophy is bled into Christianity, especially into churches, where the real world flesh, the real fresh flesh and blood world ain't shit. And so therefore,
Gnosticism was a Christian idea first, though. To be fair,
it was a heresy. We tried. I will say this: the Catholic Church tried to kill all the Gnostics, and we would be better off if we had succeeded. Continue.
Well, the thing is, Paul did actually speak against it because Gnosticism kind of rose up it was a contemporary offshoot of Christianity, originating from like Aristotelian ideas. I mean, a lot of stuff happened back then because you're going to have that for you're going to have a lot of that crossover, but it's bled over. That's why I feel like churches have become way more apt. Some churches have become way more apt to accepting the idea of transgenderism, because they believe that the spirit matters more. And actually had someone who now identifies as non-binary. It was one of my friends all throughout college, and he has his own issues. But that's was his justification. He's like, well, God made the spirit, therefore, if the spirit feels like a certain way, it doesn't really matter what the physical world is. Like, bro, you're not a Christian, you're a Gnostic. Fuck off. Like, shut up. That's ridiculous, because if you truly did believe that in a perfect God who made things the way that they're supposed to be, men and women both, then you shouldn't have an issue with the reality of it. Because the fact is, men and women are made different. We all you got to do is spend time with a woman for 5 seconds, and you know that we are completely on completely different wavelengths. That's okay, because we cover for each other's weaknesses and we bolster each other's strength. That's how it's supposed to be. But we live in a world that wants to pitch us against each other, wants to make us constantly butting heads, and think that if you're succeeding, that means I have to fail, which goes on completely in Marxism. It's a gigantic miasma of shit ideas that are making us all miserable. And whether we realize it or not, we are embracing a lot more than we think we do. And it's going to be a very long process to undo that. But if you're cognizant of some of the messaging that you're being taught, it's a lot easier to realize, think in terms of unity. We don't need to think in terms of conflict. We don't need to think in terms of war. We don't need to be constantly at each other's throats. And men are from Mars, women are from Venus. No, we're not. We live on the same planet. We have always lived on the same planet. We're always going to live on the same planet. And and that's how all of humanity has continued, has been allowed to continue. And that's how it's going to be, because that's the reality of the world and of biology itself.
Yeah. And
this is unified is completely unnatural.
Right. Well, this is actually, Rogner is making a great point here. This is this isn't just like a trans thing. This is a Gnostic idea. Yeah. It's the idea that God made a mistake and that man can fix it.
Like, especially if you believe in God, how pretentious is that to say to the Almighty, yeah, you messed up? Are you fucking kidding me?
It's like, and it's a lot of this is like an unwillingness, and this ties back into feminism too. It ties back into simping. It's kind of the through line of the original discussion. A lot of this is like people have a problem with reality. Yeah. And if you can't grapple with the way things actually are, and you can't adapt to yourself to the way things actually are, it's kind of fun to like screech about it and shake your fist at the sky. And it feels emotionally righteous. Like, oh, why can't I bend the world to fit my emotions? It's actually hard to sit in the mirror and be like, shoot, I might have to conform myself to fit with reality. That might be what I have to do, because reality ain't changing.
If you want to take a religion out of the equation, it's a problem with being self-acceptance.
Yeah.
Which used to be all the rage in the fucking 80s and 90s. Be proud of who you are. Everybody is different except what you are and what you're capable of, blah, blah, blah. Now it's, no, you have to find a way to change what you are.
Yeah.
No matter, instead of looking to change the actual problem within yourself, you're looking for the quick fix, which is all the other shit.
Yeah. Even if you don't believe in God, just a trust in the way that, and a trust in just nature, that nature made you the way you're supposed to be, and nature.
Yeah, I'm not 6 feet tall, so I can't play basketball. What am I good at? Look at it that way.
I can play baseball. Oh yeah,
find something you're excellent at and make it even better.
Yeah. I'm not an athlete, therefore I'm playing D&D.
Right.
That's pretty fine.
Yeah.
We're all made differently, and that's fine. We just, and maybe that's part of why this idiot feminist idea that I deserve the 1% man. No, you don't. 1% men are they're a statistical anomaly. Hence,
yeah.
1%.
And it's not just I deserve the 1% man. I deserve to be I deserve what he has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's going back to the Marxism. I deserve what you have, even though I didn't earn it.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's a lot.
Everything is a DEI there.
Even though I don't try as hard, because somehow you got that undeservingly, but I deserve it more just for existing.
Yeah. A lot of this is about getting unearned social privilege. And right. I also want to tie this in because we see this is something I talk about a lot, but I always want to bring it up. We hear a lot about women on the Horrors Say Dumb Things podcasts or on street interviews, right? We hear women talk about what their minimum requirements are for a man, but I promise if you actually look at who they're having sex with, it's like Chad from the vape shop. That's what I always say. It's like some dude with a slight paunch who smells bad, who gives them the same kind of like emotional detachment that reminds them of their father. And that guy keeps leaving her on red, and she'll go to his house after 10 p.m. and fuck him and wonder why they're not married and feel sad about it. Like, I'm telling you, like, and her saying, I'll only accept this level of man, is her being hurt emotionally and like lashing out at reality. Like, no, if I'm going to get cheated on, I might as well get cheated on in a Bentley. You can cry in a Bentley or you can cry in a Honda Accord. It's up to you.
She
The
deserves
same
to be
woman
in
that
a
you're
dice
describing could be on a date with a guy that meets all of those requirements. Be put up in a hotel room with him, wait for him to go to sleep, and then go meet Chad at the vape shop.
Right. She's taking
whether or not they're
like,
worth the guy that they want to see.
Here's the thing. Chad from the vape shop is eating your Cheesecake Factory leftovers. Just so you know.
Yes.
When you send that chick home with a doggy bag, Chad is eating them. That's Chad's eating your cheesecake.
Good stuff.
Just saying. So like, and you got it. But that's the thing. That's the consequence of dealing with emotionally immature women. And that's one of the realities. Like, one of the unfortunate things about the dating market now, especially the stage that like Strider and I are close in age, even though we have kind of like a different path of how we got here. Being single now, it's like you just have to accept the fact that there is a dude somewhere in that girl's past that she would drop everything for if he showed up again.
Oh yeah.
And they made a show about this on Netflix called Sex Life. This dude, basically this tall dude with a monster hog, which they show in the show, by the way. There's a monster. It's like my forearm. It's like my forearm holding a baseball. Where? It's terrible. It's hard. It's monstrous. It looks like something Conan the Barbarian would fight. It's just monstrous.
Don't believe you.
Have you guys seen Tremors? It's like that. It's horrible.
I have the exact same dice bag, Nate.
But that's what.
This is a cool dice bag.
I have the exact same dice bag.
That's the reality, and that sucks, man. It's just something you got to deal with. Is like, especially when you're and that's the thing where you have to filter for most emotional maturity. Like I was dating a girl, the last girl that I had like a serious thing with. One of the reasons we broke up, other than her friend said I wasn't shit, which fair enough, it was she got really wrapped around the axle because some guy who had ghosted her like a year or so before we met got engaged to his ex-girlfriend, and she was like really like twisted up about that. She was mad. She was calling all her friends. It's like, why is and I'm like, why does any of this shit matter? You're with me now. You know, I'm over all my exes. Are you? And that was when I found out that I was the rebound guy. Right. Oh. And that's reality. And I didn't know that. And to be fair to her, I don't think she knew that either. You know, but that's one of the problems with having these never-ending these single phases that go on way too long. Yeah, is you've got people in the past now that have a tremendous amount of pull over you in the future, and unless you kind of like grow up emotionally, right? Which, let's face it, a lot of hot women don't have much incentive in our society to grow up and mature emotionally. They kind of don't have to. Why? Yeah. Because whenever they have a bad emotion, they can just go online and look at their inbox. And what's it full of? Fucking hard eyes from Sims. Bam! Full circle. See how I did that?
I just realized something. I need to start using this book more.
And got to realize like when these women are being called out, even by other women, the same group of guys that would go after a guy like, how dare you be mean to thy woman? They're going to go after the women too. Woman. The milady bullshit. They're going to go after women that call out the bullshit too. So the cool chicks are going to get called out for calling out the bad behavior too.
Yep.
Nine times out of 10, their woman looks like Rachel Zegler. If
you're a self-hating woman. Blah blah blah.
Right.
Yeah, you're just
I always love that.
Like the idea of being
Gal mentioned that earlier too.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I hate who I am. I mean, you can certainly, but I hate who I am for no reason, just by virtue of me being
it's okay,
a man or a woman. That's so stupid.
That was horrible. Sorry.
You know, it's kind of funny with this whole didn't earn it epidemic that we were just mentioning. You know, the video I did today was on GameStop. They're shutting down all locations in Canada and France because in large part because of the extreme DEI measures happening in those countries. Like, the CEO actually said that DEI is the reason they're shutting down operations in those countries. Because this didn't earn an epidemic, which DEI is an alternative definition for, didn't earn it. Wokeness and all that bullshit, all those buzzwords, they all apply to people who didn't earn it, and therefore they're increasing taxes to give that excess tax money to people who didn't earn where they are and what they're living with.
Yeah, it's hard out here for a pimp, guys. That's what I'm saying. That's what the show is for.
Yeah, how can you be a pimp when all these girls can OnlyFans themselves? What are you now, their marketing director?
Yeah, we just and you know what's crazy is like
When you're trying
OnlyFans
to get this money for the rent.
OnlyFans will send recruiters to colleges. Like, this shit is so pernicious and evil that you don't have any. You guys, like,
Hey, you lady who's barely legal, you got a pretty pussy? Let me see.
Yeah, it's like, hey, you who just took out a bunch of student loans to study psychology so you could figure out why you're fucked up, and you just now found out that to get a job you need a master's degree. Rut-row, how are you going to pay that back? Have you thought about showing your butthole to strangers?
I feel targeted by that example.
Yeah, I was a psych major too, but no one ever approached me. For
Everybody I met was a fucking psych mate. Like, you always run into them. Like I said, it's like, what is it?
Well, you know why, right? Psychology
it's
major
is stuff. It's certainly useful. It just, you can't, unless you're going to go into like psychiatry or something clinical, something medical. It's not really all that useful.
Well, it's also one of the easiest majors to get. Like, the only thing easier is like a marketing major or a communications major.
But what use is it?
Now,
they don't think about use; they think about the coursework.
I got a lot out of it.
The purpose of college should be to get a job and make money.
No. For Gen Z, the purpose of college is it's just the next step. You have to. To people in Gen Z, college isn't an option to further your career. It is the next step. There is no other next step. That's how Gen Z people think.
Yeah. Correct.
Did you guys see that?
Needs to darken the Drunken. You need to darken the letters. I just see the doesn't call you daddy red flags. I can't read it.
Yeah, the other letters are a bit too dark. That's true.
That's fucking great.
This is Theo Snodgrass, and he approves of this message.
Theo Snodgrass, and I approve this message.
I'm Theo Snodgrass. I'm Theo Snotass, and I approve.
Hey, you leave Theo Snotches alone.
That's great. Oh man, dude,
Theo,
I love
that
it.
is your character for
Screen
campaign
cap is
2.
great
Theo
because you look
Snotches.
increasingly douchey in that screen grab, so it's fantastic for the meme.
Yeah, that's so
It's
good.
like, yo.
Oh man, that was
Fantastic.
incredible. Oh man. All right, folks, we've had a good time today. Why don't we circle up and do some outros? Strider, if people like, I saw somebody. Hold on, somebody was giving you props. Walter was giving you props in the chat earlier. Hold on, here he is. Here he is. All right, Strider, you crushed your facts quota for today. Time to let everybody else get in on some and contribute a few L takes now. So you're quickly becoming one of our most popular panelists. So if we want to hear more Strider takes, where can we find you, Strider? What are you doing these days?
Yeah, so I'm just hanging out on Twitter and trolling the libs and having a blast with it. I don't have it's at StridingRed25. I promise it will be my last account. That is a promise I'm making to everybody. I've been mouthing off too much. I need to stop that. It's time to grow up. But you can also find me on Full Metal Nate's channel. Iron. I'll own that L. Find me on Full Metal Nate's channel this coming Saturday. Cause today's Saturday. This coming Saturday for Curse of Strahd, in which Theo and Iron and Selena in the chat we're all contributing to our own little dark edge of the universe and having a blast with it. Then every Friday night, find me on the weekly Rose Gallery with Iron and everybody else here.
It's about to get a whole lot darker, by the way.
Oh yeah, especially for me. Well, you mentioned that you want to mention L takes. Like, just watch last week's episode and then tune in for this time, because I'm not a good liar.
I was very disappointed in you. I was so disappointed.
Oh yeah, you had me talking about last night.
You need
you're like roll for disadvantage. Like, I am. No, you're done. roll disadvantage, you bastard. Get better.
Oh man. What about you? What about you, Full Metal Nate? Where can we find you if we want more stuff from you?
Well, obviously you can find me on the Full Metal Nate YouTube channel, where every other Saturday we play D&D 5e Curse of Strahd live. This past week I've been doing a lot of revamping for the show. I've been working on custom templates just to kind of, make the streams look a little more professional. I revamped the intro because I know some people were talking about the noise a little bit. It was a little too high. I got that taken care of. I got you in the intro finally, Theo. So the circle is now complete. I mean,
yes.
I had to edit it anyway for Tiny and for Strider. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, I need to put him in here now.
Excellent.
Got a couple videos I'm working on too, and other than that, I'm just kind of live streaming some games whenever I feel like it. Gonna meet up with Kit later on, and we're actually gonna play some Baldur's Gate 3, so should be a blast.
Excellent. So be sure to go follow Full Metal Nate on his YouTube channel if you want to go keep track of all that cool stuff. Iron, what are you doing these days?
Let's see. You can, of course, catch the weekly Rogues Gallery every Friday at 5:35 p.m. PST. Again, joined by most everybody here is a member of the panel. And if they're not, they're going to be soon, because we will be adding a weekly show. So the Friday show will be rebranded as the Weekend Rogues Gallery. Nothing there will change, but we're going to have a weekly show. This is an opportunity to bring in more panelists that can't always join due to scheduling, and so we can also book more guests, because we got a big month of March with a lot of familiar faces joining the show for the first time. So I'm really excited about that, and trying to just keep that momentum for that show going. We have a lot of fun. Everybody on there has great chemistry. I think that's what makes the show work so well. We're all friends. We all talk on a regular basis and actually enjoy each other's company even when we don't agree. So yeah, shut up, Arza. Maybe you won't be on the weekly show after all. But aside from that, you can, of course, catch me over on Curse of Strahd. I believe it's up coming this Friday. Looking forward to that again. Try to join this show. Try to join Drunken Emerald show. You should subscribe to both those channels as well. And then just pop in here and there wherever I'm invited. Have a good time. So that's about it.
Excellent.
Subscribe.
Excellent. Selena, are you available to tell us what kind of cool stuff you're up to and where we can find you?
You can find me on the weekly Rogues Gallery on Fridays on Iron Oxide's channel. I will also be joining Jack Tarlad's channel this Thursday, the 27th, for a read and roll. It's sort of like D&D, I guess. It's my first time trying out, so it's gonna be a little nerve-wracking, but I'm excited. That'll be at 2 p.m. You can also find me on X at Scream Queen Cell. Thanks for having me. And also here, I'm usually here in the mornings if I have the time. So thank you for having me back. This was a great conversation.
Excellent. All right.
Campaign 2, Selena. Think about it.
Okay.
All right, Arza. Well, Nate's done whoring himself out. Can you? Where can we
I'll whore
find you?
myself out instead. So you can find me at Arza Chats on YouTube, Instagram, and X. I do both videos and shorts, and those shorts all get posted to Instagram if you just want to watch me over there. I try to do daily content, but I'm a college student, so that doesn't always happen. I took a week off, and then I did a video. Then I took a week off again, and then I didn't do any videos, and then I took a week off. It's been great, but I'm trying to get back on track. I just did a video on GameStop, as I mentioned earlier. It's a pretty good video, and if you guys want to see me on any other shows, just whore me out for me, because I'd love to do more shows because it's really fun.
Yeah. All right. And that's awesome. Be sure to check out what ours is doing. As for me, I am in Richland, Washington right now. I'm gonna be at Joker's Comedy Club tonight. If you want to come see that, so that's a lot of fun. That's going to be a great show. And let's see what else. Oh, I do this show. So follow me on YouTube if you want to catch this show. That's 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm on the Rogues Gallery. That's on Fridays at 5:30 Pacific Time. I'm on insert title here. That's at 9:30 Pacific Time. And also, if you want to see cool stand-up content that I don't put on YouTube, go ahead and follow me on that Patreon. That Patreon's price, price of entry is $5 a month, and that $5 a month every 4 to 6 weeks or so, I'm just going to be dropping new full-length content. I'm just going to be dropping stuff. And if you give me $5 a month to produce it, then I'm just going to keep making stuff. I'm just going to keep making stuff till I'm dead. So if you want to see that, $5 a month, so I can afford to keep doing it. That would be awesome.
You only get 3 weeks left. Sorry.
That's what we'll do. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Patreon's up and running. Be on the lookout for the merch store, by the way. The merch store is still in beta testing. We just did our first test purchase, and then we're going to do a launch for that. I'm really excited about the merch we've got. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah, that's a lot of cool stuff. So follow me on Twitter. Follow me on YouTube. Subscribe to the Patreon. Follow me on Instagram if you're nasty. That's for hot people. That's where I put all my butthole pics. So that's where you want to be.
You liar! I've been on your Instagram for a while and I haven't seen a single butthole pic.
He puts all his butthole pics over there, but you're not allowed to simp for him.
Behind the table.
You need to gas him up more, Arza.
That's right. I need more hard eyes.
And call
That's
him
what I
beautiful.
need. All right, folks. Hey, stay classy. We're going to get out of here. Take care.
Bye, guys.
This is really tiring
And
position.
we're doing